Chapter 2017 Immortal Ascension Young Girl. Chapter 2017 Immortal Ascension Young Girl. Do you come from Luo Yu continent? Outside an immortal ascension palace in Mo heaven, an abstruse immortal carefully asked a pretty blue-robed girl. She looked like she was 18 and was extremely pretty. It was like she was a true immortal and the rest of the immortals here were mortals. Luo Xian shook her head. No, I've never heard of Luo Yu continent. She carefully scanned her spirit sense out and thought, was this the immortal realm? The immortal spirit chi here was indeed very dense. She fell off the dual stone cliff and went into a void teleportation formation and was teleported to a cultivation realm called Xinqiang. Unlike Mu Xiaoyan, she was teleported to an immortal estate ruin. It was left behind by someone called Ling Bo Goddess. There were not only plenty of cultivation resource, but also a precise description of the cultivation realm. After she ascended to the immortal realm, she left behind that immortal estate. Luo Xian's cultivation knowledge came from Ling Po estate. She reached foundation establishment state in the estate before going out carefully. After going out, she realized how cruel the cultivation realm was. There were many times she almost fell into the hands of other people. She also realized what cultivation slave was. So she went back to the estate and cultivated. Due to the top-level resources left behind and her talent was top-notch, she reached truth realization state peak stage in a few hundred years. After that, Luo Xian's spirit controlled the estate and roamed the Xinqiang continent. Her cultivation level was peak of the entire continent. No one would offend a truth realization state peak stage for no reason. She traveled the entire cultivation realm to find a way back to the magical continent. She finally realized that Yemo was a cultivator and why Yemo said to her that his dream would never be realized. At the same time, she realized the terrifying value of the 2 golden pages she gave Yemo. However, she didn't care about the golden pages. She wanted to go back and see Yemo and help him fulfill his ideal. Yemo helped her fulfill her wish. She knew that after all these years, her sect would be vastly different. If there was one person she knew she could see, it was Yemo. After all, Yemo was a cultivator. She really wanted to find Yemo and see if the small jade bottle she left Yemo was still there. But she had searched for a few decades and had no results. Her cultivation level reached peak and couldn't keep staying, so she was forced to ascend to the immortal realm. Hearing Luo Xian wasn't from the Luo Yu continent, the abstruse immortal moved, iced in disappointment, but still said, Our MOU immortal sect is taking in disciples. If you want to join, I can bring you there. Thank you, Qian Bei. Wan Bei don't want to join a sect yet. Luo Xian rejected. The abstruse immortal nodded and said, You've just ascended. I suggest you cultivate in the city and consider leaving after you convert your cultivation essence to immortal essence. Luo Xian thanked again. At the same time, in a small mosque in Huangxing heaven, a woman who was sitting with her eyes closed opened her eyes and said in disbelief, You got my heritage and came to the immortal realm? Let me see who this person is. She suddenly got up and seemed ethereal. She had this serene feeling to her, as though some Tao wave was emanating from her. She didn't need to use any music instrument, and there was Buddhist sounds surrounding her, making her seem like the goddess of the immortal realm. She moved and disappeared from the mosque. Goddess, I'm from Zishuang's sect Moe Heaven. It's an immortal king sect. If you're willing to join us, I can test your immortal spirit root. Another man came up and saluted with his fists. Before Luo Xian could answer, she heard a cold voice. She won't join your Zishuang sect. Move aside. The man was going to get angry, but found it was an extremely beautiful goddess. There was a rainbow behind her back, like she was some female Buddha. The sect members quickly ate his words and retreated with his hands together. Even the rest of the people moved aside. Luo Xian looked at this goddess that made people want to worship her, and had this strange feeling. Do you want to come with me? She said calmly, but her voice seemed to lure Luo Xian into nodding. Seeing this, the goddess waved up a rainbow and disappeared with Luo Xian. After a while, Luo Xian reacted and bowed. Qian Bei. Wan Bei just ascended to the immortal realm. Why did Qian Bei bring Wan Bei? The goddess smiled due to fate. Fate? Luo Xian stared at her in shock. There is fate between us. When I was in the cultivation realm, I had a title called Lingpa. People called me Lingpa Goddess. Hearing this, Luo Xian immediately bowed. Wan Bei greet Lingpa Qian Bei. Wan Bei got Qian Bei's immortal estate, and that's why I was able to ascend to the immortal realm. Lingpa smiled at his fate. Before I was powerful and left a few tunnels to the cultivation realm in a few mortal realms. Only you got my heritage. This is fate. Which realm did you come from? Wan Bei came from magical continent. Luo Xian quickly said, It's that place. Lingpa repeated with a strange face, but instantly recovered and asked, What's your name? Wan Bei Luo Xian. Luo Xian said. Lingpa Goddess nodded. Luo Xian, you cultivated the heritage I left behind in the cultivation realm. Do you want to be my disciple and keep cultivating with me? Luo Xian hesitated briefly and said, I'm willing. Okay. Lingpa Goddess nodded in satisfaction. I have another title called Lingpa Divine Emperor. You don't know now, but it's okay. You will eventually know. She looked into the distant void and said, I should have long left here, but I always felt I lost something. Now that you came, that feeling disappeared. One could see there's indeed fate between us. There will be a huge turmoil in the immortal realm. I'm too weak and can't change things. The only path is to go to the source of the turmoil. Luo Xian didn't know what Divine Emperor was, and now that Lingpa Goddess said her power was too weak, she thought her master was only an ordinary being in the immortal realm. So she asked, Master, where's the only path? God, Necropolis domain. Lingpa Divine Emperor answered seriously, I really want those smart people in the immortal realm to head towards the God, Necropolis domain, and offer their power in preserving the immortal realm. However, there aren't many like this. A few went to the God Necropolis domain, but it's purely for themselves. No matter what, just because a few Grand Emperors went in, didn't mean that more people went in. There was no news of those who headed towards the God Necropolis domain yet. No one would care about how many from the immortal realm went to the God Necropolis domain, nor did Yi Mo. Yi Mo was in a crucial moment. His cultivation level was no longer Immortal Emperor middle stage. After the time formation disk ran for 100 years, almost 10,000 years had passed inside. Yi Mo's cultivation level was almost Immortal Emperor peak stage. Crack! The yin-yang dual range turned to dust. The god crystals he got were used up, but he was still only at Immortal Emperor tertiary stage. Yi Mo sighed. He had used plenty of 7-star extreme well water, but his body refinement cultivation was still stuck at Immortal God Body peak stage. Now that he used up all his God crystals and God spirit range, he was still a bit from Immortal Emperor peak stage. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2018 Instant or Eternity. Chapter 2018 Instant or Eternity. If there was something he got out of these years, he upgraded his blue, like morning sky, to God flame and raised Zi Su to half-god artifact. Zi Su changed from an ugly look to a pretty murder weapon. It carried a slab of purple color, and when released, it seemed there were blue stars circulating it. Even if it wasn't released, there was a sliver of aged feeling. It wasn't that the materials Yi Mo had weren't good, but Yi Mo's forgery skills weren't good enough. The aged feeling was due to the primordial abstruse string. The stars circulating it was caused by the purple waystone. Time passed really quickly. Yi Mo sighed and put away the time formation disc, but didn't dare to come out of the golden page world. He expanded his spirit sense out of the golden page world, and it was immediately annihilated by the time whirlpools. They seemed to be everywhere. Yi-Mo could imagine that if he wasn't in the golden page world and went out, he would be instantly torn to pieces or turned to bones. That's right, his power was much higher than a mortal emperor middle stage, but was there any use? If he wasn't experienced in time law, he wouldn't be able to walk in here. Yi-Mo concocted a pile of dual spirit pill and started to carefully sense the time law outside the golden page world. His spirit sense kept getting annihilated, but he kept sending his spirit sense out. If it was some ordinary person, he would have crippled already, or his sea of consciousness would have exploded. But although Yi-Mo's face was pale, he didn't give up. He reached out his spirit sense again and again. Although Yi-Mo didn't learn the time law, this method of cultivation made his spirit sense tougher. However, his spirit sense was receiving a huge toll. He ate again the dual spirit pills again and again. He was even ready to eat that lightning sound ages fruit. It was a waste to eat it now, but Yi-Mo had no choice. Even if it was a waste, he would have to eat it. As long as he could learn a sliver of time law by eating it, he could improve his power. At this moment, he felt that he was about to capture that sliver of time chi, but he couldn't completely grasp it. It was like something was in his hands, but every time he tried to grab it, it would slip out. Yi-Mo opened the jade box and grabbed that age's Tao fruit. He had decided to use it. Regardless if it worked or not, he would have to try. Time law was one of the hardest law to master. Yi-Mo held the fruit in his hand, and there was this indescribable feeling of time emitting from the fruit. Yi-Mo immediately felt that he stood in a river of time. Endless waters of time flew past him. He felt the house in Ninghai, the prosperity of Luoyu City. He felt Qingxue he carried on his back before. He felt that small house under the mountain and Luoying who embraced him. Time flew by like water, like falling leaves that turn to rotten leaves on the ground before disappearing. Time flew by, and life seemed to be in the flick of a finger. This subtle law flowed into his essence, spirit, and consciousness from the age's fruit. He just obscurely felt the passing and flow of time. Perhaps countless years passed, perhaps it was just an instant. At this moment, Yi-Mo felt everything around suddenly stop. The fruit brought out a lightning spark that went into his consciousness. Yi-Mo suddenly woke up and subconsciously grabbed with his hands. That sliver of time, Qi, seemed to have been grabbed by his hand. The world seemed to have stopped in this instant, in eternity, by his hand. The four Seons were all in his will. Yi-Mo suddenly had this sliver of enlightenment. He released Zisu, and a 30 kilometers purple sword ray split the space apart. There was a sliver of lightning around the sword ray, as though the thunder god was striking down. The purple ray landed, and Yi-Mo suddenly took a step forward. The light breathe in the space seemed to have been paused. The entire space paused, but that purple ray still sliced across this silent world and smashed into the ground, creating a terrifying ravine. After everything passed, the light wind continued to blow forward, and everything returned to animation. Instant, eternity, instant, Yi-Mo looked at Heilong Ravine and murmured with a pale face. When he paused the space in that instant, everything was eternity. I understand. Yi-Mo put away Zisu and murmured. His move could pause the surrounding time for 1 second. He could kill anything in this second. That second was instant, but the time in that instant was eternity. This was just a sliver of time law. His move was near great god art, but was far from great god art. He used this one move, and all his god essence was sucked dry. Such terrifying time law. This move will be called instant second. Perhaps one day I can hack out a move truly worthy of being called eternity. Yi-Mo murmured. He raised his hand, and that lightning sound age's fruit was long gone. He didn't eat it. It just disappeared in his hand. It's good indeed, Yi-Mo said with a pity, and then ate a few pills. 15 minutes later, Yemo raised his hand again. That 30 kilometers long ravine was instantly repaired. So that person didn't use a great god art. It was just the difference in cultivation level. Yemo was at the border of creating a great god art and finally knew that Tao molding Divine Emperor's move wasn't great god art. True great god arts were god arts fused with law. That Tao molding Divine Emperor controlled the Changzheng Lake water, but he forcefully used his powerful essence, qi, and domain. It only had a sliver of space law inside. If it was a real great god art, the lake water could easily kill him. Yemo breathed easy. Although his instant second only went for a second, one could do many things in a second. His Zi-Su could completely use this second to kill someone, and his shatter space could tear the opponent apart. Yemo realized that time law was more terrifying than space law. Just when Yemo carefully extended his spirit sense outside the golden page world again, there was this cracking sound in his bones. At this moment, his god essence seemed more powerful, and his sea of consciousness was clearer as it expanded even more. At this moment, Yemo looked at his meridians and Dan Tian in disbelief. After learning it, his cultivation level reached peak stage. All sorts of Tao, runes, circulated in Yemo's will. Yemo knew he was a mortal emperor peak stage. Yemo could no longer suppress his joy. It was time to go out. Yemo soon calmed down and scanned his spirit sense outside the golden page world again. Now that he mastered a sliver of time law, he could go out. Even if he couldn't leave the mountain, he was going to leave the golden page world. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Yemo's spirit sense just appeared outside, and moments later, a time whirlpool swept by. Yemo felt his sea of consciousness twisting in pain, and soon, his spirit sense disappeared. Yemo's spirit sense just appeared outside, and moments later, a time whirlpool swept by. Yemo felt his sea of consciousness twisting in pain, and soon, his spirit sense disappeared. Yemo ate a few dual spirit pills, and his face was bad. Although he learned instant second, going out now was suicide. If he couldn't go in the mountain, it meant that if the mountain didn't open again, he would have to stay here forever. It wasn't easy for the mountain to reopen. From the news he got, it sometimes opened once every tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of years. Sometimes it was just in 2 or 3 years. There was no rule to it. Yemo suddenly thought of the Tao, a molding Divine Emperor, next to the lake. He wondered if that guy went out. Yemo was certain that Tao molding Divine Emperor had always been in the Muhua God Mountain and was cultivating there. That divine estate at the bottom of the lake probably helped him stay there. Thinking about this, Yemo immediately wanted to go over to the Changzheng Lake and see. He couldn't go over, but he could control the Golden Page world to go over. He definitely wouldn't be able to beat that Tao molding Divine Emperor despite him being a mortal Emperor peak stage and knowing instant second god art. He had a trump card against Divine Emperors, but if it couldn't kill the Divine Emperor, he would have to wait for death. But Yemo wasn't very worried. Even if he couldn't kill the Tao molding Divine Emperor, he could run away. A few months later, Yemo came back to the Changzheng Lake. His face was pale and his sea of consciousness was heavily injured. It was very slow to control the Golden Page world to fly, and he had to keep scanning his spirit sense out. If it was some other immortal emperor, he probably wouldn't be able to come this far. Luckily, he knew a sliver of time law and had plenty of dual spirit pills. Next to the lake, Yemo started repairing his sea of consciousness. After an entire year, Yemo's sea of consciousness recovered. After all this, his spirit sense became sharper and more powerful. It was also more flexible. The lake was still the same, but there was a thin layer of mist. Yemo scanned his spirit sense out again. Yi-Mo was soon shocked. He found that if he reached his spirit sense near 30 meters of the lake, there was no time whirlpool. Yi-Mo suppressed his joy and continued to watch for a day before confirming it really was so. Yi-Mo breathed easy and came out of the golden page world, standing at the border of the lake. The blood-red lake water looked eerie and scary. At this moment, he seemed to see countless souls screaming. His spirit sense couldn't scan to the bottom, so Yi-Mo flew out into the lake without hesitation. He needed to check that divine estate, so he would have to dive down. Yi-Mo was very careful. He was scared that the Tao molding divine emperor hadn't left. As soon as Yi-Mo went into the water, he felt a powerful, special pressure squeeze at him. There was this lethal force that wanted to shatter his soul squeeze in from the two sides. The invisible space had completely bound him, making him unable to escape. Yi-Mo was carefully watching out at every moment. When this space lethal force squeezed over, he immediately attacked. Shatter Sky punch smashed out. There was clearly a space law covering the lake. If he couldn't break it, he would have to wait and die. The shatter space also carried a sliver of space law. Yi-Mo learned a sliver of space law when he was just an abstruse immortal. Although he didn't progress much from it, the Tao molding divine emperor only learned a sliver too. The Shatter Sky punch brought out the nearby blood, lake water, and formed 9 space fist forces and smashed on this invisible space barrier. Rumble. The space binding broke apart with the Shatter Sky punch. An invisible crack appeared on the space barrier. There was only small cracking sounds. Yi-Mo dashed out as soon as the clash happened. The space binding already cracked once, and with Yi-Mo dashing like this, it disappeared like the nearby water bubbles. Without this space binding pressure, the lake water instantly squeezed out, forming a 1 km tall water pillar. Yi-Mo used this blood water pill to dash out of the lake and land next to the lake. At this moment, a red axe hacked open where Yi-Mo was before. After being hacked, the lake didn't seem to be a lake, but a huge watermelon that was sliced open from the middle. In a second, the water closed up again, and a man dashed out of the lake. It was the Tao molding divine emperor who attacked you again. "It's you again!" The Tao molding divine emperor stared at Yi-Mo and said word by word, "You ruined my business before, and now you fell into my hands again. It seems you have quite some good things to be able to stay in Muhua God Mountain and break my space barrier. You not only have your own world, but also know a sliver of space law." Yi-Mo glanced at the red axe and reached out his hand. Zisu suddenly appeared in his hand. Then he said slowly, "I guess that there was something strange about this lake. Luckily I came today, otherwise I'll know what time I would be locked up till. You probably cultivated in the mountain for many years. What a pity the mortal emperor essence, blood that you needed for cultivation, was lost due to the Tao actualization divine emperor I brought over." "Ha ha ha ha," the divine emperor laughed. "Do you think it's good? You were able to reach Immortal Emperor peak stage from Immortal Emperor middle stage in a mere 100 years. It seems you have more secrets than me. So what if you're Immortal Emperor peak stage? You're still an insect to me, Taba Feiyong. Do you think you can escape? You want to escape from me using the little sliver of space law, you know. Keep dreaming. Even though I didn't get a single Immortal Emperor essence blood, you can make up for it." Suddenly, the red axe smashed down. A 30 kilometers long red axe figure sliced across the time whirlpool place outside the lake. The terrifying space pressure came. Yi-Mo could feel he was in mud while fighting with Taba Feiyong. He didn't even move, and the space was bound by the axe. He felt like he couldn't dodge this and could only wait as he was hacked apart. Yi-Mo didn't dare to waste time. He released Z, Su, and 5 lightning spear destruction at the same time. He couldn't escape casually. He couldn't get into the golden page world in time with the space pressure. Even if he got into the golden page world, how far could he go into the time whirlpool outside? Plus, Taba Feyong had been living here for countless years. If he knew how to travel outside, he would be over. Yi Emo stacked his Immortal Emperor domain and Spirit Sense domain. But even so, Zisu Crevice still slowed down a lot. The Divine Emperor only knew a sliver of time law, but it was much more than him. The 5 lightning spear destruction was very clear. It wasn't as fast as before. You still want to struggle under my space? Just wait to be disembodied by my blood-refining axe and taste my 6 glory, soul-shaking light. Taba Feyong sneered and shot out this pale light. As soon as this light came out, Yemo felt his soul and essence, spirit, wanting to leave his body. This was definitely an extremely fierce magic artifact. Yi Emo didn't think and punched out. Shatter Space God Art. He had to break the space binding. Otherwise, how could he fight this battle? Rumble. The punch swept over the nearby space, lethal force, and tore through the space. Taba Feyong's space instantly made cracking sounds. 5 lightning spear destruction also sped up and clashed with the 6 glory soul-shaking light. At the same time, the red axe also clashed with Zisu. Chapter 2020, Yemo's Lethal Blow. Chapter 2020, Yemo's Lethal Blow Rumble. The rays splashed out. Yemo's 5 lightning spear destruction turned into flash lightning and disappeared. Meanwhile, an eerie light seeped out of the 5 lightning spear destruction and smashed on Yemo. Even with his immortal god body peak stage body, Yemo couldn't take it. But after the light went into Yemo's body, it was already weak and was easily burned by blue, like morning sky. Crack! The purple sword ray of Zisu smashed together with a red axe shadow, but created a materialized sound. Even though the space here was extremely stable, there were ripples. So powerful. Yemo was shocked and flew back. He forcefully controlled his body and didn't leave the safety range of the lake. No wonder you're so cocky. You have a few moves. Taba Feyong didn't move, but he was more shocked than Yemo. He had seen quite some Immortal Emperor peak stage, and even half-divines, but never an Immortal Emperor as powerful as Yemo. An ordinary Immortal Emperor peak stage would have long been killed, but Yemo was only at a slight lower hand. 6 glory soul-shaking light. Soul-shaking extermination. The stronger Yemo was, the more Taba Feyong wanted to kill him and take everything. Yemo knew this person was stronger than him. If he allowed the light to completely activate, it definitely wasn't good. It just shot out 1 light before, and his 5 lightning spear destruction couldn't stop it. If it was completely activated, it would be overwhelming. He didn't have the right to stall out the battle with this divine emperor. He had to finish the battle quick, and if he was outmatched, run immediately. Yemo calmed his essence chi and took out a golden bow and arrow, and at the same time, a big golden bow appeared in his hand. This terrifying heaven chi rustled rolling in all the nearby space. The extreme lethal force of the golden bow of immortal extermination fused with the world and seemed to rip the space the next moment. Yemo's cultivation level was far stronger than Jizong Immortal Emperor, and he refined to a much higher level of restriction. Golden bow of divine extermination. Taba Feyong called out in horror. His body was shaking with terror. He only activated half of the 6 glory light, but he didn't dare to keep activating anymore. He didn't dare to move at all. He knew that if he was shot by the golden bow and arrow of divine extermination, he would definitely die. He was shaking, half out of fear, but half out of excitement. The golden bow of divine extermination appeared. This meant that if he killed this small immortal emperor, it would be his. Once he found 9 bow and arrows, he would dominate the entire god necropolis domain. Even if he didn't find the 9 arrows and just found 5 arrows, he wouldn't fear ordinary Tao actualization divine emperor anymore. But now, the killing intent of the golden bow of divine extermination was getting more and more intense. He didn't dare to move at all. All the lethal force of the space was drawn to the arrow, even the bleak killing intent of the lake. It formed this materialized killing intent around the golden bone arrow. Taba Feyang was scared, but he didn't think he would die to it. He believed that even if Yemo got all 9 arrows, he wouldn't be able to completely spirit control it. The original 9 arrows of the golden bow of immortal extermination were invisible in the god Necropolis domain, but many people knew that 4 of the arrows were lost. There were only 5 true arrows with the golden bow of immortal extermination. The owner of the golden bow of divine extermination found the top forgery, Grand Master of the god Necropolis domain, to make for more arrows. However, these 4 arrows were far weaker than the original 5. It was because of this that Taba Feyang believed he could dodge Yemo's golden bone arrows. If he did, then Yemo was his to play with. So it was golden bow of divine extermination, Yemo realized. Perhaps when he reached 72th level or higher restriction, the name of the bow would change again. Seeing Taba Feyang's nervous and worried look, Yemo was very satisfied. He was threatened by these bow and arrows before, but now he could use it to threaten others. It seemed this bow was extremely famous in the god Necropolis domain. If he killed this Taba Feyang, no one would know he has the golden bow of divine extermination. Yemo's spirit sense was very powerful, and Sea of Consciousness was very sturdy. Even so, it was very difficult for him to draw open the bow. He had to constantly insert his lethal force in. He couldn't let the lethal force fall, or the opponent would grasp the opportunity. He had to preserve strength, as he knew the first arrow definitely wouldn't be able to kill Taba Feyang. Compared to Yemo, Taba Feyang found this more unbearable. He didn't know when Yemo would shoot the arrow, nor how many arrows Yemo had. As the lethal force grew bigger, Taba Feyang felt greater pressure. He knew he couldn't move first. When the lethal force gathered to a peak, Yemo knew he couldn't keep holding it. Otherwise, the lethal force would drop. There was another thud from outside the lake. Yemo shot the arrow without hesitation at the same time. The crisp sound came like phoenix chirping as the arrow tore open all space in front of it. The arrow's lethal force left no return. As the bow sounded, the bone arrow shot out. In that instant, Taba Feyang's 6 glory light was completely activated. A horrid light veil shot out. At the same time, Taba Feyang released the blood axe. He deeply knew how powerful the golden bow of divine extermination was. With the power of this immortal emperor, there wouldn't be just only 1 arrow. The golden arrow shot into that veil, and the veil melted extremely rapidly. Crack! The pale veil finally disappeared, but the killing intent of the bone arrow was completely wiped. Its force was still there, but it just didn't have the original lethal force. Taba Feyang's face was calm. He quickly took back the 6 glory light. He knew Yemo didn't have just 1 arrow. How could Yemo let him take back the light? The sound of arrow release came again. 2 golden arrows shot in the left and right of Taba Feyang. Their killing intent almost materialized. Even if Taba Feyang wanted to dodge it, he couldn't. Taba Feyang knew that the golden bone arrow couldn't be dodged easily. 1 arrow had possibility of being dodged, but if he tried to dodge 2 arrows, it was suicide. If he dodged 1 arrow, his force would weaken. The second arrow would lock on him and kill him. If the golden bow of divine extermination and arrow was so easily dodged, it wouldn't be feared so much. At the same time Yemo shot the second and third arrow, Taba Feyang's blood axe was released and smashed at the golden bone arrow. Crack! The blood axe was completely broken by the bone arrow and turned to blood-colored pieces. However, with this the golden arrow paused a bit. Taba Feyang couldn't block the third one. The terrifying killing intent completely enveloped him. A substitute wooden clone appeared next to his body suddenly and blocked the third arrow. This was his essence, spirit, substitution clone. It would use up a portion of his essence spirit, but it could save his life. The instant the essence spirit clone came out, it was completely smashed by the third arrow. The clone was instantly torn to pieces, but the third arrow was blocked by the essence spirit pieces, and the killing intent eased. Before Taba Feyang could be happy, he saw the fourth golden arrow shoot at him. Before the sound of the bow rung, that extremely terrifying killing intent swept over. The space around Chengjiang Lake became dead. It seemed that almost all life force was taken away by this fourth bone arrow. That terrifying killing intent locked the entire space, leaving him nowhere to escape. The fourth arrow was the real lethal arrow. Taba Feyang suddenly realized. Yi Mo knew the 3 arrows couldn't kill him, so he gathered all the lethal force on the fourth arrow. He was certain that Yi Mo only had 4 arrows. Even if he had a 5th, he wouldn't be able to shoot it. Yi Mo's extremely pale face showed that he had used all his power. If he survived this 4th arrow, Yi Mo would be defenseless. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2021 God, Art, Instant Second. Chapter 2021 God, Art, Instant Second. Taba Feyang showed a cruel smile on his face. He was certain he could block this arrow. Even though he used all his cards and was heavily injured, if he blocked this arrow, he would get return that was multiple times. Other than the golden bow of divine extermination, this little immortal emperor must have plenty of good things. Otherwise, the Tao actualization divine emperor wouldn't leave him behind and hunt this immortal emperor instead. The nearby life force completely disappeared. The golden bone arrow dominated this space. Suddenly, layers of black mist appeared around Taba Feyang. His hair instantly turned white and his body aged. A huge golden estate appeared. He was burning his life to defend against this arrow. He knew that even if this golden arrow hit his divine estate, it would be fine. No one knew how terrifying this divine estate was other than him. He had been in the Muhua God Mountain spirit, controlling this estate for countless years. Even though he burned his life now, he could only barely move the estate. This was with him being on the Changjiang Lake and having the Abyss metal card. Otherwise, even if he's spirit-controlled for millions of years, he wouldn't be able to move the estate. To be specific, he can't mobilize the estate. The Abyss metal card mobilized it. This all happened in an instant. The bone arrow would definitely hit his estate and maybe it could break the divine estate, but he would definitely be fine. Although Yi Mo's face was extremely pale, his body suddenly had this flow of time. He walked up and raised his hand, saying, "Instant second." That instant was eternity. When Yi Mo waved out instant second, eternity was set. The rivers of time swept, taking away countless pitiful scenes. These scenes flowed past Taba Feyang's eyes. Everything paused at this moment, and so did Taba Feyang. He saw the girl he grew up with leave him. He saw the tragedy he experienced when he first begun cultivation. He saw his parents and brothers. He saw everything in the past. Time sped away. Before Taba Feyang could reflect himself in this river of time and think about what he had lost, the scene flowed again. Taba Feyang suddenly woke up, but the golden bone arrow had already touched his body. Death and disintegration of life instantly perfused in his body. Time law paused so terrifying, Taba Feyang could only say these words as his body suddenly exploded. Rumble. The huge divine estate disappeared again. Yi Mo spat many mouthful of blood. The golden bow of divine extermination fell to the ground, and at that instant, his dark black hair turned snow white again. The entire lake fell silent, but moments later, Small Ginseng and Small Ginseng came out of the golden page world. They didn't wait for long before Yi Mo was awake. They said in post-terror, "This person is so strong. Boss, you're so strong." You're not even a divine emperor, but you killed a Tao Vindication divine emperor. No one would believe such a thing. Shadowless quickly said. Yi Mo ate a few pills and shook his head without the golden bow of divine extermination. I wouldn't be able to kill him. If he didn't underestimate me and called out that golden estate earlier, I still wouldn't be able to kill him. At some other place, even if I killed him, I would be dead myself too. With my current power, I'm still far from facing Tao molding divine emperor. Small Ginseng and Shadowless were speechless. Yi Mo calmed his essence chi and came up to Taba Feiyang's body. The blood axe was gone, but the 6 glory soul-shaking light was still there. It looked like a fist-sized orb. However, there was some cracks on the orb. One can see just how terrifying the golden bow of divine extermination was. Yi Mo picked the orb up and put it in his golden page world. He didn't find a storage ring. Other than this, he found an extremely thin mask and a shiny black metal card. Yi Mo immediately thought of that disappearing golden estate. It seemed that belonged to Taba Feiyang, but he didn't keep that with him. It might be at the bottom of the lake, and his things would be in that divine estate. Thinking about this, Yi Mo picked up the mask and metal card. The mask was fine after being shot by the golden bow and arrow. It definitely wasn't something simple. Yi Mo casually put this mask on his face, and soon he was shocked. He found that he couldn't even feel he wore a mask. He thought of the Tao actualization divine emperor he offended. Yi Mo didn't take off the mask. He was thinking whether that divine emperor would be constantly watching him. He picked up the metal card, but found that with his immortal emperor peak stage spirit sense, he couldn't scan in. Yi Mo was very shocked. He released blue, like morning sky. Blue, like morning sky, was now a god flame and could even melt the top materials of the god Necropolis domain, but blue, like morning sky, burned the card for 15 minutes, and the card didn't show any signs of melting. Instead, instant second Yin Chi was growing stronger. Yi Mo put the metal card in a jade box and put it in his golden page world. He felt he might be able to use it in the future. After collecting his loot, Yi Mo didn't go inside the lake immediately. He had less than 10% of his power. He had to recover his power first. Otherwise, it would be dangerous if he encountered something else at the bottom of the lake. He let Shadowless and Small Ginseng go into the golden page world. Yi Mo went in too and controlled the golden page world to go back into the time whirlpools of the mountain. After a few months, Yi Mo came back to the lake. His god essence had recovered. Although his sea of consciousness hadn't completely recovered, it was just a matter of time. His snow-white hair turned gray. If it wasn't that his face was still young, he would seem like an old man now. Even though he killed the Tao molding divine emperor, Yi Mo felt this lake was still strange. There was an eerie chi and a ghost chi. Yi Mo didn't believe it was caused by Taba Feiyang killing too many immortal emperors. He wouldn't leave behind any of their chi. Yi Mo was very careful to enter the lake. 2 hours later, he finally came to the bottom of the lake. Yi Mo found that where the divine estate was before, there was nothing. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Yi Mo stood where he was in disappointment. The divine estate was called out by Taba Feiyang, but it was interrupted by his instant second god art and disappeared. Yi Mo stood where he was in disappointment. The divine estate was called out by Taba Feiyang, but it was interrupted by his instant second god art and disappeared. Because of this, Yi Mo thought the estate would be where it was before, but now it wasn't there. Without it, he wouldn't be able to get Taba Feiyang's belongings. Yi Mo took out that metal card again. He felt this card was related to the divine estate. Yi Mo's spirit sense scanned this metal card again, but it still couldn't scan in. Just when Yi Mo was going to put it away and search around, he felt the metal card grow colder in his hands. A black light flowed in the metal card, and at the same time, for subtle words showed in Yemo's consciousness in abyss metal card. This card was called in abyss metal card. Yemo just thought of this and saw a divine estate slowly appear out of thin air. The huge divine estate slowly cleared up to Yemo's surprise. In just 10 seconds, that huge door appeared again. So the divine estate is activated by the metal card. Yemo murmured. At this moment, the door had appeared, so Yemo went near it without hesitation. When he came to the side, he realized that there was no blood lake water around the divine estate. He didn't need to keep up a water barrier with God essence. Yemo grabbed the card and carefully went into the estate. After going in, there was this yin chi surrounding him. Yemo was even more careful. His spirit sense scanned in the palace and found that the palace was very empty. There was nothing but a yin-yang fish painting. There were all sorts of paintings on the walls, and Yemo didn't understand a single one of them. No wonder those immortal emperors immediately wanted to come out after coming in this palace. This estate was empty, it was very obvious. They didn't need to waste time to search. Yemo walked to the yin-yang fish painting and found that it was slowly spinning. His spirit sense scanned in, but was pushed out by the fish. Such a strange pattern. Yemo soon saw a metal card picture next to the yin-yang fish painting. The picture of the metal card was exactly the same one as in his hand. Yemo compared them side by side. They were exactly the same. More strangely, the metal card stuck into the metal card image itself. It went deeper and deeper until eventually completely immersing into it. Then it became a level surface with the painting. Yemo quickly grabbed the metal card, but no matter how much force he used, it was tightly sealed into the painting. Yemo didn't keep trying to get the card. He was a bit disappointed. This was no doubt Essence Divine Emperor, nor the place Taba Feiyang stored his things. Taba Feiyang's storage ring was probably completely destroyed by his golden bone arrow. This was normal. He wasn't able to control the bone arrow an instant, second to a specific level. It was difficult to preserve the storage ring. Just when Yemo got up in disappointment, the yin-yang fish painting made a cracking sound. Then the two fish split apart. As they separated, a deep stairway appeared before Yemo. Yemo scanned his spirit sense in and found that his spirit sense couldn't even penetrate 1 meter. He could only see 3 stairs with his eyes. Yemo stared at this obscure stairway in shock. He didn't know where it led to, nor has he seen such an eerie place. There was nothing stopping him, but his spirit sense could only see 3 steps. After hesitating moments later, Yemo released Zisu and stepped on the first step. The stair seemed very hollow and could disappear at any time. The entire stairway seemed to be shaking as though it could fall into the void at any time. Yemo stopped. He wasn't just worried about the stairway disappearing, but also about the calling of souls and the extremely bleak chi coming from below the stairs. Yemo breathed slowly. He finally realized why there was a bleak chi. It was the calling of ghosts. It was all below the stairs. He wondered what thing could have such dense yin chi. He finally realized why Taba Feiyang didn't want to leave this place. He got the metal card somewhere and opened this divine estate. His cultivation method might need this ghost and bleak chi. As for the immortal emperors he brought here, it was probably not just for cultivation. In fact, Yemo guessed pretty much right. Taba Feiyang always cultivated here. The yin chi here was too heavy. He had to keep finding some extreme yang essence blood to mediate his essence spirit that was corroded by yin chi. Otherwise, he would become half human, half ghost. Yemo went down 2 more stairs. He felt the more he went down, the heavier the yin chi was. There was also hatred attached to it. Yemo felt it was difficult after going down less than 5 stairs. Before Yemo could adjust, a powerful bleak chi struck him. Even though he was immortal emperor peak stage, he couldn't resist at all and was smashed back onto the divine estate hull. Crack! The yin-yang fish closed. The metal card flew out and landed in the middle of the hull. Yi Emo picked up the card and felt a little annoyed. He placed the metal card on his hand and said that Taba Feiyong could cultivate here. Perhaps he even controlled how to open the Mu Hua God Mountain. But I can't even leave here. After talking, Yi Emo found his metal card flash with dark light. It seemed like it was about to be activated at any time. Did it have teleporting capabilities? Yi Emo grabbed the metal card in joy and called, "Teleport out! Take me out of here!" Out! Out of Mu Hua God Mountain. Yi Emo tried all sorts of sayings, but the metal card just flowed with dark rays and nothing else. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2023. I shall vindicate Tao. Chapter 2023. I shall vindicate Tao after this. Yi Emo searched the divine estate for a few more days and didn't find any way out. He did find some formation flag marks left behind by Taba Feiyong. A few days later, Yi Emo could only return to the Golden Page world helplessly. Coming in again this time, Yi Emo was ready to vindicate Tao. He had never come in contact with Tao Vindication Divine Emperor cultivation method nor knew anything about Tao Vindication. There was no predecessor experience he could borrow. He had no cultivation resources nor anything to do now, so he could only seek Tao Vindication. Other people might not have a high-level world spirit item for Tao Vindication, but Yi Emo had plenty. He had the newly opened Chaos World, as well as the Bitter Bamboo and Chaos Tree. Yi Emo looked at the Bitter Bamboo and Chaos Tree. He didn't hesitate and chose to be enlightened under the Chaos Tree. They were unique things in the world, but the Chaos Tree contained Tao Qi, while Bitter Bamboo only had Spirit Item Qi. Ever since the beginning, Yi Emo spent all his time either finding cultivation resources or cultivating after finding cultivation resources. He had never really had the time to sit down quietly and meditate. Now he really had nothing to do, so he sat down below the Chaos Tree to learn his Tao. As soon Yi Emo sat down, he didn't need to calm down and was immersed in the vast Qi of the Chaos Tree. He seemed to have entered an endless scroll of existence, from the underworld to the mortal realm, then the cultivation realm, immortal realm, and then to the divine Tao realm. The clearly separated realms appeared in front of his eyes like a beautiful landscape scroll painting. He saw the clear divisions of the stars and the prosperity in the universe. But as time went on, the beautiful cosmos became obscure. Resources were depleted and competition grew more intense. There was battle raging in the mortal realms. There was fighting everywhere in the cultivation realm and immortal realm. A qi of destruction emanated in the realms. At this moment, a small seed blossomed in the void and grew. The small seed grew into the chaos tree that stretched across many realms. The dense life force emitted from the tree went back to nourish the endless cosmos. The obscure and desolate realms returned to their original state and flourished more. But the tree that crossed many realms was eventually found. These powerful beings started to fight over this huge tree of life. Battles, carnage, destruction, wither. All sorts of qi filled the universe. The chaos tree with dense life force was attacked by all sorts of things and started to wither. Despite this, no one stopped the fight. Everyone wanted to own the chaos tree for themselves. Everyone wanted to be the ruler of the cosmos. Powerful beings were killed. Sects were annihilated. Planets were spirit-controlled. Heaven domains were crumbled. The highest sacred land in this universe, the divine Tao realm, finally cracked open from such terrifying battles. The beautiful landscape became devastated. Some powerful beings fled the divine Tao realm and went to foreign lands. When a few top powerful beings left, the remaining people didn't have the power to fight for the chaos tree. But at this moment, the big tree started to wither. Its essence turned into a drop of tear, and the tear transformed into a small seed. Without the nourishment of the tree, the void became pale. The abyssal realm was broken. There were souls calling everywhere. The cultivation realm was deprived of resources, and the immortal realm was crippled. In the golden page world, the chaos tree was blossoming green, and the dense green chi completely enveloped Yemo. I shall vindicate Tao. Yemo woke up from that scene and slowly spat these words. He was still feeling the vast Tao chi under the chaos tree emotionlessly. The world fragmented, divine Tao broken, immortal realm crippled, laws incomplete. How to vindicate Tao? A voice sounded in Yemo's sea of consciousness. This voice cycled over again and again as though it would never stop. What confused Yemo was that this voice sounded a bit like his. Yemo's consciousness was long connected with the chaos tree now. He suddenly felt unjust. How come other people could vindicate Tao, but he couldn't? There were Tao vindicators in the god, necropolis domain, and immortal realm. There were even some Tao essence divine emperors. How come he was extra to Tao vindication? I shall vindicate Tao, Yemo said without hesitation and firmly. He didn't know the rules to Tao vindication. If he did, he would have long vindicated his Tao. The world is incomplete. Instant second Taos are small Taos. The voice seemed to know what Yemo thought and said. Was there a difference between Tao? Yemo didn't completely understand. Did he have to wait till the god necropolis domain was repaired to divine Tao realm before he could vindicate great Tao? Or wait till the immortal realm was repaired? He didn't have such capability now. Suddenly, Yemo gained this enlightenment. This was making him promise to repair the god necropolis domain and bring together the 33 heavens of the immortal realm. There was a subtle voice calling in his voice that if he was willing to promise to do all this, his Tao would come together, and he would be vindicating the highest Tao. When I vindicate Tao, I shall do my best to repair the god necropolis domain. When I vindicate Tao, I shall do my best to repair the divine Tao realm. When I vindicate, I shall do my best to close together the immortal realm. Yemo suddenly felt that if he said these words loudly, he would succeed in Tao vindication and vindicate the highest Tao. Yemo cultivated the three-birth chant and knew his heart very well. At this moment, there was this extreme discomfort rising from the bottom of his heart. He didn't like this feeling of being threatened. This was like making him promise to do things, and then he could vindicate Tao. Whether or not he did those things was his choice. It was irrelevant to Tao vindication. In his past life and this life, he did things based on his heart. Regardless if the threat was good or bad for him, he had this feeling from the depth of his heart that he didn't want to be forced. Even if he could never vindicate Tao in his life, he didn't want to be forced by this foreign will. Yemo suddenly stopped his meditation and opened his eyes as he got up and yelled, "The golden page world is mine. I planted the chaos tree. I shall vindicate my own Tao. I do everything on my own will. Nothing in the world, no one in the world shall control my Tao. If there's any foreign will, sever," Yemo said and sliced down with Zisu in the void. A gray light seeped out from the chaos tree and was sliced to pieces. Yemo took a long breath, and this feeling of comfort rose up. This feeling was indescribable. This was the feeling of freedom. At the same time, he felt the heavy and serious chaos tree become light and joyful. It was like an old man turned to a playful kid. The next moment, a green light fused into Yemo's Dan Tian. Yemo shook and truly woke up. The world seemed to have become clear to him. Even the nearby space became very meticulous. He felt he found a way to improve his god art. Yemo knew he didn't vindicate Tao, but he became a half-divine. The power of law became clearer to him. Where is the chaos tree? Yemo immediately found that the chaos tree next to him disappeared. Before he could ask small ginseng and shadowless, there was this joyful emotion coming from his dantian. He soon a green tree happily waving in his dantian. "I understand," Yemo said. He severed the will planted in the chaos tree. With this, the chaos tree immediately recognized him as master. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Yi Mo knew that with his talent and learning, half divine was the extreme. Even if he went into solitary cultivation for countless years, he would still be half divine without new enlightenments. Yi Mo knew that with his talent and learning, half divine was the extreme. Even if he went into solitary cultivation for countless years, he would still be half divine without new enlightenments. He wanted to vindicate Tao, so he would have to leave the golden page world and go back to the greater world to experience things. Yi Mo wasn't sad. He was the master of the chaos tree now, and his power increased another level. If he wasn't blasted to a million pieces, he wouldn't die with the chaos tree in his dantian. When he came out of the golden page world and stood in the divine estate palace again, he knew that the only way out of the Muhua God Mountain was through this mysterious divine estate. Yi Mo didn't open that yin-yang fish tunnel again. He knew that even though with his increased tower, he wouldn't be able to pass that stairway. He would at most go down a few extra steps. And Yi Mo was certain that tunnel didn't lead outside. With the powerful resistance there, even Taba Feiyang wouldn't be able to go down. Yi Mo walked to the first painting of the palace. The painting looked like it was sculpted on there. The surface was uneven, but when Yi Mo subconsciously felt it with his hands, it felt extremely smooth and even. This first painting was very simple. A servant who was wearing a hat struggled to carry water. Yi Mo focused on it for a few minutes, and suddenly felt that he was about to be embedded into the painting. He was shocked and subconsciously retreated. Rumble! A powerful force from the painting smashed him away. Yi Mo didn't dare to keep looking at the first one. He came to the second one. It was two people running. Yi Mo didn't scan his spirit sense in. He felt this wasn't the way out he was looking for. Third, fourth. When Yi Mo walked to the seventh painting, he stopped again. He felt this painting gave him the least pressure. It was very simple. It was of a grand sect. There were mountain ranges, rising and descending. There was 4 great golden words before the sect, Suyu Divine Tao. A gray, robed man stood before the sect and looked at these 4 words. There was only his back. His hands were behind his back, and his clothes seemed to wave with the wind. It was just a painting. There was no will nor essence spirit, but Yi Mo still felt the man's terrifying power. It was as though he could turn him to dust easily. This made Yi Mo extremely uncomfortable. Just when his eyes were going to leave this figure, another metal card image appeared next to the figure. The image was his abyss metal card. Yi Mo took it out without hesitation. He felt another dark ray flow out of the painting that connected with the dark ray from the metal card. An extremely powerful force came, and Yi Mo was surrounded by this dark ray. Not good. He was going to get dragged into the painting. Yi Mo used all his god essence to try to break free, but no matter what he did, he couldn't break free at all. The next moment, Yi Mo felt this light sweep him into a void tunnel. Yi Mo stopped struggling. He felt the tunnel didn't bring him into that painting, but really teleported him away. Rumble! Yi Mo landed on solid ground. He immediately protected himself with god essence and clutched Su tightly. Moments later, Yi Mo relaxed. There were ravines everywhere and broken walls. Half of that mountain range was sideways on the ground. Yi Mo looked at the metal card. There seemed to be this melancholic chi inside, but it soon disappeared. Even the light from the metal card disappeared. This metal card became icy cold again. This metal card wasn't simple. It seemed the first painting wasn't trying to suck him in, but teleport him to somewhere. Perhaps every painting in that palace could teleport him somewhere. Yi Mo put away the metal card and started to study his surrounding. He was certain he was teleported out of the Mu Hua God Mountain. At the same time, Yi Mo realized that he was standing at where the figure was standing in the painting. Yi Mo took in a cold breath. There were ravines that his spirit sense couldn't scan to the bottom, and the destroyed tens of thousands of km of mountain range. Just how much power was needed for this? Su Yu Divine Tao was clearly a powerful ancient sect, but now it was destroyed to this level. A black figure suddenly charged out of the ravine. Yi Mo punched, and the figure made a sharp scream before dispersing. A black beast core fell on the ground. Yi Mo picked it up and immediately realized, I came back to the god Necropolis domain. He just killed a mist demon beast, but his power was now much stronger than when he first came to the god Necropolis domain. Yi Mo immediately left this destroyed sect. A few days later, Yi Mo's spirit sense found a marketplace. After making sure there was no top-level Tao Vindication powerful beings, Yi Mo came to this market. He wanted to ask how far this place was from the Muhua God Mountain. He also needed to find a way to other big cities and find ways people vindicated Tao. To Yi Mo, he didn't know what Tao Vindication was at all. In the God Necropolis domain, many Tao Vindicators vindicated small Tao, but that didn't affect Yi Mo from learning their experience. His three-birth chant could utilize other people's experience to walk out his own great Tao. Yi Mo entered and stopped an ordinary immortal monarch tertiary stage. He saluted with his fists and asked, Tao, friend, may I ask? Before Yi Mo could finish, that immortal monarch tertiary stage's face changed and quickly said, Qianbei, Wanbei don't know. Then he soon disappeared into the crowd. Yi Mo looked at this with confusion. What was going on? Just when Yi Mo wanted to ask someone else, he found that everyone avoided him like the plague. Yi Mo soon realized it was this mask. He got the mask from Taba Feiyang. It seemed he really did do a lot of bad things. But wait, when Taba Feiyang directed people to attack the divine estate, no one said anything to him. Dai, Taba Feiyang, a few powerful dashing lights came. Yi Mo suspected one of them was divine emperor power. They sealed off his exit and released all sorts of magic artifact. Yi Mo cursed. He wore this mask to prevent that Tao actualization divine emperor from finding him, but this Taba Feiyang offended more people. No wonder he hid in the mountain. Yi Mo dashed away without hesitation. It wasn't that he was scared of these people. He just didn't want to have these meaningless fights. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2025 The Extra Martial Sister. Chapter 2025 The Extra Martial Sister Yi Mo didn't use instant transmission means. His 5-element mobility technique was far more powerful than before. He quickly charged out of the marketplace. This is really unlucky. Yi Mo was about to pull the mask off. An extremely subtle space wave made Yi Mo stop the action. He knew someone was coming and was immediately about to flee. Martial Brother Feiyang, it's really you. A voice of surprise and joy sounded. At the same time, a white-robed female immortal appeared before Yi Mo. She was actually half divine power. She had long eyebrows and snow-white skin. Her black hair was tied up. There was a yellow immortal cloud silk wrapped around her chest, but it couldn't constrict the high peaks. The immortal skirt flowed in the wind. Accompanied with her looks, one had to be amazed by her beauty. Yi Mo thought, would this woman be Taba Feiyang's partner? Taba Feiyang looked like a ghost, and yet he had such a good-looking partner. Martial brother, come back with me. The voice pleaded with a sad and soft tone. Clearly, she wasn't just ordinary relationship with Taba Feiyang. He couldn't go so casually now. Otherwise, if she was suspicious, it might be another power hunting after him. Seeing Yi Mo not talk, the woman could only continue, Feiyang. Tao Vindication isn't as easy as you think. Without the help of sect and family, neither of us can reach Tao Vindication. Plus, it's extremely hard to vindicate Tao with your cultivation method. You've offended too many people trying to cultivate that cultivation method. You did too many things that go against the interest of the sect. Fei Yang, I want you to wake up. I will definitely help you vindicate Tao. And I want to vindicate Tao with you. The emotions in her eyes were obvious. Yimo's brain thought rapidly. He suspected that the Taba Feiyang he killed wasn't her martial brother. It might be that martial brother Feiyang was killed by that Tao molding divine emperor, and that Tao molding divine emperor used the mask to change into Taba Feiyang's look and use this identity to do bad things everywhere. I will vindicate Tao through my own capabilities. Yi Mo mimicked the Tao molding divine emperor's voice and said coldly. There was tears in the woman's eyes. Feiyang, I know it's been hard for you all these years. You're so much older than before. When you left many years ago, you were half divine, and now you're still half divine. The woman seemed too sad and didn't continue talking about this and said, Changfei Divine Tao City has a divine emperor Tao discussion square. There will be half a year's of Tao discussion. After that, those who have enlightened can go to the border of God Necropolis domain to attain the fortune of great God art. Hearing this, Yemo almost called out. God Necropolis domain. Was he not at God Necropolis domain? If he was at God Necropolis domain, why would the woman say go to God Necropolis domain? However, Yemo was interested in that divine emperor Tao discussion square. Yemo knew his talent. It was probably very hard to vindicate Tao just with his own experience. He didn't have to copy other people's path completely, but just know how they vindicated Tao. Seeing Yemo not answer, the woman continued, before, the place you wanted to go the most was God Necropolis domain. Now that you have a chance and to listen to other people discussing Tao, why are you giving up? Did you forget what you said before? I've offended too many people. Yemo said heavily. Hearing this, the woman said in surprise and joy, It's okay. I have a face mask magic artifact here. Just come back with me, and once we vindicate Tao, everything else will be insects. The woman took out a mask magic artifact and gave it to Yemo. Yemo took the mask and felt there was some danger, but he couldn't exactly tell what danger it was. Martial sister, can you mark me a jade slip about the God Necropolis domain? Yemo hesitated and asked. The woman dazed and then took out a jade slip and some things to Yemo. I know about the same as you. I've added some things, have it. Yemo took it, but didn't look at it. He said to this woman, I want to be alone for a while. Wait for me at Changfei Divine Tao City. If I want to go, I will go there to find you. If not, don't feel bad. Don't keep waiting for me. Then Yemo used mobility technique and disappeared. He really wanted to go to the Tao discussion, but he wasn't that dumb to go with this woman. No matter how well he acted, if he got too close with this woman, he would be spotted out. Seeing Yemo leave alone, that joyful face sunk. She didn't chase Yemo, but stared at Yemo's direction for a long time before saying coldly, You killed my marshal, Brother Feiyang. Even if you escape to the edges of heaven, I, Shanning Yao, will annihilate your soul. Yemo didn't know he was already spotted out, but he wasn't relying on her. He was just using her. 10 million km away, Yemo found a quiet place to enter the Golden Page world. Yemo immediately took out the jade slip she gave him. Yemo immediately noticed something wrong. There seemed to be a subtle spirit sense mark, but he searched the jade slip with spirit sense and found nothing. Yemo threw the jade slip away without hesitation. A spirit sense mark invisible to spirit sense, and the eye shot at him. If it wasn't that this world was his, he wouldn't be able to feel it. How could Yemo let this spirit sense mark fall on him? There was time-space law in the spirit sense mark. Yemo's domain and God essence couldn't stop this mark, not bind it. Instant second, Yemo used instant second in his shock. As soon as the spirit sense mark was frozen by instant second, he released blue like morning sky to burn it. So powerful, Yemo was covered in sweat. Yemo using instant second in here was many times stronger than outside. After all, this world was his. Once his cultivation level reached a powerful point, he can even stop the flow of time in the golden page world. Yi-Mo's face was pale after using the instant second. Yi-Mo took out that mask and burned with blue like morning sky. Since there was a mark in the jade slip, there was no way there wouldn't be a spirit sense mark in this face mask. Indeed, another spirit sense mark charged out of the mask and shot at Yi-Mo. With his previous experience, Yi-Mo used another instant second without hesitation and burned with blue like morning sky. This spirit sense mark was instantly vaporized. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2026 Changfei Divine Tao City. Chapter 2026 Changfei Divine Tao City. He used 2 instant seconds. Even though this golden page world was Yi-Mo's world, Yi-Mo almost couldn't handle it. Luckily, the chaos tree in his dantian quickly released life force. In just 15 minutes, Yi-Mo completely recovered. Yi-Mo breathed easy. Chaos tree made a huge difference. He checked over his body and made sure there was no problem before he grabbed the jade slip. He felt that these 2 marks were made by at least Tao Essence Divine Emperor. Probably even Taba Feiyang wouldn't be able to escape the mark. He was able to escape because he had the golden page world, instant second, and God flame to burn the mark. 15 minutes later, Yi-Mo put down the jade slip. He finally understood that the place he was at was indeed the God Necropolis domain, but it wasn't the real God Necropolis domain. It was just that the God Necropolis domain was in this region, so it was called the God Necropolis domain. Specifically speaking, this place was a broken domain of the divine Tao realm. But in the divine Tao realm, there was a true God Necropolis domain. That place had all sorts of Tao laws and Qi. There are also primordial God arts and the dead remains of powerful beings. Compared to God Necropolis domain, Muhua God Mountain was just a place of time law. Meanwhile, the God Necropolis domain was filled with all sorts of laws and Tao Qi. It's also the grounds of where a few primordial essence divine emperor died. It was because of this that many people would go to God Necropolis domain for Tao vindication. God Necropolis domain was too famous, so that the people here just named this broken realm after the God Necropolis domain. The Jade Slip said that many immortal emperors vindicated Tao at the God Necropolis domain. Some immortal emperors became wealthy there as they found the remains of primordial essence divine emperor and had the magic artifact of the primordial essence divine emperor. If they found the heritage of primordial essence divine emperor, it meant that had the path to the top of Tao. Yi-Mo put the jade slip down and thought for a while before eventually deciding to go to Changfei Divine Tao City. Regardless if he could go to that Tao discussion, he would have to try. If he went, he would benefit plenty from there. Yi-Mo also wanted to learn about how to vindicate Tao in the God Necropolis domain. In the God Necropolis domain, the big powers had their own circle. It was very hard to get into this circle and listen to their Tao discussion. However, it wasn't impossible. His gray hair couldn't turn into black hair yet. This was due to the damage on his essence Qi. It couldn't be repaired by eating a pill. After his essence Qi recovered, his hair would turn black. But Yi-Mo didn't want to wait that long. That woman had seen him with the gray hair. Even if he took off the mask, she would recognize him. Yi-Mo just shaved off all his hair and made a top-grade immortal artifact Buddhist bead and hung it on his chest. Thinking of Du Feng monk, Yi-Mo made another gourd and put it on his waist. The wine inside was made by small ginseng. After taking his mask off, he returned to his original look. The reason Yi-Mo chose this look was because after talking to Du Feng monk, he had some understanding of Nanming Heaven Zen Temple's cultivation method. Most importantly, he had a golden bell Buddhist fruit. If he took out this Tao fruit, no one would suspect his identity. In this broken divine Tao realm, it wasn't easy to find a top sect. The main reason was resources were scarce here, and it was the law of the jungle. Most people wanted to vindicate Tao and weren't willing to take out their resources. It was because of this that some God Corner families were more powerful than ordinary sections. Changfei Divine Tao City was an exception. Even the divine Tao realm was broken, it was still boundless. It was no surprise that such a prosperous city existed. Yi Emo walked in and felt a completely different atmosphere to the immortal realm. It felt depressing. It wasn't as comfortable as the immortal cities. There weren't many monks, but there were monks, so Yi Emo's look wasn't very unique. At this moment, Yi Emo suppressed his power to Immortal Emperor peak stage. He was planning to go into a bar and search for news. Just when Yi Emo walked in, he saw a figure dash out, and then there was a red light hacking at that figure. Yi Emo moved iced, and that figure fell to the ground. Seeing how that red light was going to hack the person on the ground in half, Yi Emo suddenly kicked. That red light was immediately crippled. The person on the ground got up and quickly saluted with his fists. "Thank you, Qianbei, for saving me." Yi Emo didn't answer and just looked at the person chasing out. This person was only an immortal monarch, middle stage. Wan Bei greet Qianbei. Sorry for offending Qianbei. The immortal monarch saw that it was some monk whose power level he couldn't see through. He quickly bowed. This really was the law of the jungle. You have no business here. Yi Emo waved his hand. He just casually saved that person, as in that instant he thought of when he was kicked down by Feng Kong Grand Emperor. Seeing Yi Emo didn't blame him, the immortal monarch saluted with his fists and disappeared. Then, Yi Emo started to look at the guy he saved. He seemed very young, but was Immortal King peak stage. He seemed very chubby and his eyes were narrow. He seemed miserable, as though he was always bullied. But then, Yi Emo noticed something different. He felt some ancient qi on this chubby boy. He felt such qi on Shadowless before. Boss, this guy has the same qi as me. Shadowless sound transmissioned from the Golden Page world. Same qi. Yi Emo immediately remembered that Shadowless came from the dragon race. Was this chubby kid a dragon too? However, he looked like a human. Come in with me. Yi Emo nodded and called the chubby boy in. The chubby boy followed Yi Emo into the bar. There were some people here. Yi Emo glanced casually and saw a few Immortal Emperor, and even a Tao molding Divine Emperor. He immediately took back his spirit sense. He really didn't understand how there were so many powerful people here, and yet that little immortal monarch dared to kill someone here. No one said anything about him stopping the immortal monarch. Yi Emo realized no one would mind other people's business. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2027. Hard to enter Tao Discussion Square. Chapter 2027. Hard to enter Tao Discussion Square. Yi Emo wanted to find a room and ask about this chubby boy, but when he asked for a room, everyone stared at him with a strange look. Yi Emo immediately knew he said something wrong again. Qianbei, the bar is just a place to drink. There are no rooms. The chubby boy said. Oh, I see. Yi Emo said casually. Although Yi Emo was poor, he still had the god crystals to drink. He took the chubby boy to a corner and sat down. When the waiter brought the wine over, the chubby boy's eyes never left the wine kettle. So this chubby boy is a wine addict. Yi Emo opened the wine kettle and found this wine was really trash. The chubby boy gulped down some saliva. Qianbei, the wine of this bar is really good. It's medium high quality and half god wine. Yi Emo almost spat the wine out. This sort of wine was called half god wine. He pushed the wine kettle to the boy. I don't like this wine, you can have it all. Thank you, Qianbei, the chubby boy said and grabbed the kettle. Yi Mo took out the wine gourd from his waist and drank. Just when he wanted to ask, he heard a shocked voice say, "Good wine." Yi Mo dazed. No shit, it was good wine. His wine was made with corner-sole weed and blue plum. After he found plenty of top god spirit herbs, he made small ginseng work the wine again. The person who said this just smelled it and knew it was good wine. Clearly, he was a wine lover too. "Dao friend, may I sit here?" A slightly coarse voice sounded in front of Yi Mo. It was that Dao molding divine emperor. Yi Mo's eyes spasmed. Although he killed a Dao molding divine emperor as an immortal emperor peak stage, he didn't cockily think he could take one out for sure. People could kill in here, and no one stopped the immortal monarch from killing the boy. People could kill here without being responsible. If this Dao molding divine emperor attacked him and he shot out the 4 golden bow of divine extermination arrows, he would be a goat waiting to be slaughtered. Of course, Dao friend, have a seat. Yi Mo saluted with his fists. The chubby boy didn't care who came over as long as he had wine to drink. Dao friend, indeed, drank good wine. I've been through countless divine Dao societies in the god necropolis domain and countless god corners. It's the first time I've smelled such good wine. Where did you buy this wine? The Dao molding divine emperor asked. Yi Mo gave his kettle to the Dao molding divine emperor. I made it myself. If you like it, then have it. Thank you, Dao friend. The Dao molding divine emperor took the kettle and drank. Yi Mo was wary. This Dao molding divine emperor's god essence was dense and seemed stronger than Taba Feiyong. His long hair was braided and his chiseled face made him look extremely handsome. Thank you, Dao friend. This is a great wine. I'm called Du Qishi. The Dao molding divine emperor clearly had different views of Yi Mo after drinking his name and told Yi Mo his name. Yi Mo realized, in the god necropolis domain, spirit items were rare and people wouldn't use it to make wine. The things he used to make his wine were all precious. Plus, the recipe was from the ancestor of making wine, Chu Chen divine emperor. I'm called Yi Mo. Yi Mo saluted with his fists but didn't keep taking out wine. Du Qishi drank half a kettle and said, "Brother, ye seem to be here the first time?" Yi Mo quickly answered, "I haven't been able to vindicate Dao after reaching Immortal Emperor Peak stage, so I've been searching around for opportunities. I heard there would be a Divine Emperor Dao discussion square here at Changfei Divine Dao City, so I came over wanting to hear the Dao discussion. There were no teleportation formations in the god necropolis domain as there were void fissures everywhere. Even flying with magic artifact could get you devoured by the void fissure, much less teleportation formation. It's probably not going to be easy to get there." Du Qishi put the wine kettle down and looked at Yi Mo. "Brother Du, you're probably already Dao molding divine emperor, right? Isn't the Dao discussion square Dao molding divine emperor discussing DOA and then immortal emperors listen?" Yi Mo asked in confusion. Du Qishi smiled bitterly. "It's held by all the big powers joined together. There's not only Dao nourishment divine emperor, but also Dao actualization divine emperor discussing Dao. There will even be the number 1 Dao essence divine emperor of Changfei divine Dao city, Sikongshan, coming to discuss Dao personally. He had been stuck in Dao essence divine emperor for countless years. After he discusses Dao this time, he would head to the god necropolis domain to find opportunity to break through to primordial essence divine emperor. Before he goes there, he would take some immortal emperor with him. Who wouldn't want such opportunity? Does one have to be taken by Dao essence divine emperor to go god necropolis domain?" Yi Mo asked in shock. Du Qishi rolled his eyes at Yi Mo. "Brother Yi, I can tell you know nothing about Dao vindication. Of those who can vindicate Dao, 90% of them did so at the border of the god necropolis domain. You can't go to the border without Dao molding divine emperor power, Dao nourishment divine emperor, and Tao actualization divine emperor can only go to the border of the god necropolis domain alone. They can't bring someone there. Only Tao essence divine emperor can bring someone there. Tao essence divine emperor can bring 10 people there. This Sikong Qianbei is quite a nice person. Yi Mo sighed. Du Qishi glanced at Yi Mo and said, those Tao essence Qianbei who went in the god necropolis domain never came out. Sikong Qianbei is gambling one last time by entering the god necropolis domain to vindicate primordial essence Tao. He's not taking the 10 people for no reason. He needs top, leave Tao fruit, and God spirit item. He will see who has greater contributions, and then take them in. Yi Mo nodded. This meant that an outsider like him has no chance, even if he went to the Tao discussion square. Brother, may I ask if you know about the Mu Hua God Mountain? Yi Mo asked. I've heard about it. It said it recently opened once. It's too far from the Chang Fei Divine Tao City. It takes decades to just get there. Otherwise, I would go to the mountain once. Du Qishi sighed. Hearing this, Yi Mo's mind was set. The further away it was from Chang Fei Divine Tao City, the better it was for Yi Mo. It seems Brother Du is here for the Tao discussion. Yi Mo asked. That's right, but I have no chance to unless I have a top spirit item or a Tao fruit. But if I do, I wouldn't want to use a Tao fruit to get a spot to listen to Tao. Du Qishi said. Yi Mo was planning to risk things and act as Taba Feiyang, but hearing this he immediately said, Brother Du, you're saying you can definitely go to the Tao discussion square if you have Tao fruit. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2028. Take away Chubby Kid. Chapter 2028. Take away Chubby Kid. Of course. Do you think it's that easy to get Tao fruits? I heard 9 times Tao fruits came out of the Mu Hua mountain this time. What a pity, Du Qishi sighed. Yi Mo finally realized why Taba Feiyang could vindicate Tao this quickly. That guy was in the Mu Hua God Mountain. As soon as it opened, he would be able to go out and scavenge Tao fruits first. This guy definitely had a lot of good things in his storage ring, but what a pity, it was destroyed. Yi Mo felt Du Qishi was a nice person, so he sound transmissioned, Brother Du, I have a Tao fruit. Just say you're a friend of mine and see if you can go in with it. What? Du Qishi said in shock that he even forgot to sound transmission. Yi Mo could only say, I want to try my luck and see if I can get into the Divine Emperor Tao discussion square. Du Qixi reacted and immediately got up. Of course, let's go now. He couldn't wait anymore. Don't be in a rush. I still have some important things to ask this little brother. Yi Mo saw that the chubby kid had finished the kettle and asked Du Qishi. Du Qishi seemed to know Yi Mo had business with the chubby kid, so he got up and smiled. I'll wait for you at my spot. Just let me know when you're ready. What is your name? Where do you come from? Yi Mo set up sound barrier restriction and asked. The chubby kid looked dazedly at Yi Mo, and there was a sliver of fear in his eyes. Yi Mo felt this and smiled. Don't worry. Although I guessed your origin a bit, but I just want to get it clear. You should know that if someone else guessed your origin like me, you probably would have been killed already. The chubby kid was clearly more and more scared. He feared this the most. He knew clearly what the consequence would be if people recognized who he was. After a long while, the chubby kid finally calmed down a bit and stuttered, I'm called Qiurang. When my mother gave birth to me, she told Uncle Ian to sneak me away. Then Uncle Ian used rune and we came to God Necropolis domain. Then Uncle Ian died protecting me. Yi Mo finally understood. This chubby kid was called Qiurang. He probably came from dragon race. His mother was a young girl waiting to be married. She seemed to live in a huge water palace. Yi Mo guessed that was the dragon palace. However, the rules there were very strict. His mother was pregnant before marriage, and this was a huge violation of law. Chiu Rang was a target of hunting. Chiu Rang's mother let her personal assistant Uncle Een take Chiu Rang and flee. Uncle Een came to the god necropolis domain somehow, but then later people realized there was a subtle dragon horn on the chubby kid's head and wanted to take him away. Uncle Een died with that person trying to protect Chiu Rang. Chiu Rang had no survival capabilities and could only starve. However, this guy loved drinking so much that he would forget his own name. He was beaten because of it countless times. He seemed quite lucky to be alive, though, after all these dangerous times. Yi Mo scanned his spirit sense into the chubby kid's hair and found a dragon horn popping out. Yi Mo knew that he definitely did something that was no good to himself. The chubby kid had been in the city for this long and loved drinking that much. He should have long been killed, but he still survived now. The only explanation was that someone knew the chubby kid was a dragon and was secretly protecting him. Chiu Rang had no family here, so of course they weren't protecting him for his benefit. This way, there would only be two motives. One was to use the chubby kid to draw other dragon race here, and the second was to just keep the chubby kid as livestock. Yi Mo believed the second possibility was greater. Dragon essence, blood, had dragon chi. It wouldn't form if you locked him up. If that person wanted to use the chubby kid's dragon chi to cultivate, he can't lock the chubby kid. Yi Mo was speechless. He was wondering why things were so coincidental that he saved the chubby kid. Even if he didn't intervene, someone would. Yi Mo wanted Chiu Rang to go, but he was only half divine. Even in the immortal realm, there are people stronger than him, much less Chang Fei divine Dao City. The person who dared to keep Chiu Rang was no simple character. At this moment, Shadowless suddenly made the sound, "Boss, this chubby kid is so pitiful and he's dragon race. Why don't you let him stay in the Golden Page world with us?" Yi Mo hesitated. If the chubby kid went into the Golden Page world, he could never go away. Otherwise, his Golden Page world would be exposed. Shadowless's words resonated with him. He was abandoned too. Shadowless and the chubby kid had a similar fate to him. If he didn't intervene, this chubby kid would be dead for sure and in a terrible way. Thinking about this, Yi Mo sound transmission to Shadowless. I'll ask him. If he's willing, then I'll take him away. If not, we can't mind too much business. Seeing the chubby kid's fearful look, Yi Mo sighed. "Chiu Rang, do you know that if you keep staying here, you would die sooner or later?" Unexpectedly, the chubby kid nodded quickly. Yi Mo shook his head. "You don't know your situation. Someone already knows you're a dragon race, but he didn't capture you because he wants you to grow up here alone. He's keeping you as a livestock. Think about it. Every time you're in danger, does someone help you? Or when you need cultivation resources, does it just magically come into your hands?" The chubby kid heard this and dazed but soon reacted. He stared at Yi Mo in shock, soon realizing what he meant. "It seems you're not too dumb. Let me be honest with you. You were saved before because people were protecting you. Otherwise, you're a little immortal king and you go around stealing wine. How can you live for so long here? But me saving you this time is a real coincidence." Seeing the chubby kid get scared, Yi Mo continued, "I have a friend who is also dragon race. He wants me to help you. If you're willing, then I'll take you away, but if you're not willing, I'll give you a kettle of wine and you can leave yourself. If you're willing to come with me, there's a condition. You must not go out. Even if you leave in the future, you must swear to not spill my sisets." Wan Bei is willing. The chubby kid agreed without hesitation. Yi Mo was confused. The chubby kid wasn't dumb. Wasn't he scared of him tricking him? "You're not scared of me tricking you?" Yi Mo immediately asked. "Bei, you're definitely not from the Dao City. You come from a faraway place. Otherwise, you wouldn't be asking for a room here. Even if I don't leave with Bei, I will probably die here. If I leave with Bei, I might be able to see my mum again. If Qian Bei wants my blood, I'll just be dying earlier. I've already known this over the years. The chubby kid said firmly, "Not bad. You're very smart, but don't worry, I won't take your blood. The things I have are countless times better than your little impure dragon blood. Relax, and I'll take you in." Yi Emo laughed. He quite liked this kid now. Now, the chubby kid subconsciously looked at everyone in the bar. Yi Emo said yes now. He had decided to take the chubby kid away. Even if he went somewhere else, people would know, so he might as well take him away publicly. No matter how strong the guy who wanted the chubby kid was, he wouldn't dare to go to the Tao discussion square. He would go there now. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2029, Terror of the Tao Essence Divine Emperor. Chapter 2029, Terror of the Tao Essence Divine Emperor. He still had another condition for going to the Tao discussion square, and that was for that Sikongshan to take him to the god Necropolis domain. Otherwise, he would be wasting that divine Tao fruit. When he went to the god Necropolis domain, who would be able to find him? The chubby kid was strictly speaking not human, he was a dragon. Even if Yi Mo's golden page world wasn't complete, he could put him inside much less now. His golden page world was completed. There were quite a lot of people in the bar, and they were shocked to see Yi Mo take the chubby kid away. People here weren't dumb. The chubby kid didn't have a simple origin. Yet Yi Mo was an immortal emperor and dared to take him away. He didn't want to live. Other people were wondering how Yi Mo had the guts to take him away, not how Yi Mo took the kid away. Most immortal emperors had their small world or cultivation home magic artifact. You didn't do this well. That chubby kid is nice, but you're not the only one interested in him, Du Qishi said. Hearing this, Yi Mo realized Du Qishi knew the chubby kid was a dragon, but Yi Mo wasn't scared. He sound transmissioned. Can we enter the Tao discussion square with Tao fruit? Of course, but do you think everyone can get Tao fruit? Although you haven't taken it out, I know you wouldn't lie to me. Good, I have Tao fruit. We can both go in and then ask Sikong Qianbei to take us to the god Necropolis domain border. Who would be able to find me there? I'm worried about you. You came with me. If those people can't find me, they might blame it on you. Yi Mo said plainly. If Du Qishi didn't dare to go with him, he would go alone. Du Qishi said pridefully, although I'm in solo cultivator, I'm not scared of anyone. Du Qishi wasn't bluffing. He didn't dare to offend big powers, but they wouldn't offend him for no reason either. They clearly knew that Yi Mo took the chubby kid. They wouldn't be dumb enough to still offend him, a Tao molding divine emperor. Good, unless those people dares to come for me now. Otherwise, I wouldn't be scared. Yi Mo laughed. Even if he couldn't go to god Necropolis domain this time, he was confident in his transmission means. Du Qishi said calmly, don't worry. Even if they want trouble with you, it would be after you leave the city. This is the Tao discussion square. Yi Mo and Du Qishi came to a barren outback. The view ahead was blurry. Clearly it was barricaded by restriction. Yi Mo thought the Tao discussion would be in a grand palace, but there was no signs of buildings at all here. Du Qishi nodded. Tao is immature. Of course you can't discuss Tao inside. Only outside would you feel a sliver of the Tao they discuss. Good knowledge. Another DMBD came up to Du Qishi and saluted with his fists. Then the Tao molding divine emperor said, but the Tao discussion is about to start here. Please move aside, Tao friends. Yi Mo immediately came up and said, we came to listen in. Sorry, not everyone can come. Move aside. The divine emperor wasn't so polite to an immortal emperor peak stage. Yi Mo wasn't angry and instead said with a smile, Brother Du and I both want to enter the Tao discussion square. I also want to ask Sikong Qianbei to give me a spot to the god Necropolis domain. Haha, the divine emperor was so angry he laughed. A mere immortal emperor dared to say this. Who did he think he was? The 10 spots were already decided. How could other people intervene? I have a Dao fruit, and I want to give this to Sikong divine Emperor Qianbei. Yi Mo said loudly. They discussed this together. If they really dared to take the Dao fruit and sign up alone, they would not only lose the Dao fruit, but their lives too. Yi Mo and Du Qishi didn't come from some big power. If the organizers of this Dao discussion took their Dao fruits, even Sikong Shan might not know. So they came to the agreement to take out the Dao fruit outside the Dao discussion square and say it loudly. Only then would the organizers be concerned. As soon as Yi Mo said this, the Dao molding divine emperor's face changed. He immediately said, "You really have Dao fruit? What Dao fruit is it? Show me." Yi Mo said in contempt, "What Dao fruit I have has nothing to do with you. This is for Sikong Qianbei. In time, I'll just give it to Sikong Qianbei." The Dao molding divine emperor calmed down and said plainly, "Even if you have Dao fruit, we need to check it before we let you go in. If you don't even know what your Dao fruit is, how are we going to report to Sikong Qianbei?" "I have a Dao fruit, so of course I'm giving it to Sikong Qianbei. If Sikong Qianbei isn't here, I will wait for a while. After all, the Dao fruit is too precious. I don't trust giving it to you." Yi Mo said loudly. The Dao molding divine emperor said plainly, "In that case, leave. We don't welcome liars here." There was faint killing intent on the Dao molding divine emperor, and Yi Mo could feel it. He was certain that as soon as they leave, there would be someone to stop them. "Since they don't want Dao fruit, I'm going." "Brother Du, didn't you say that Sikong Qianbei was collecting Dao fruits?" "I finally found one, and now they said they don't want it." Yi Mo's voice was not only loud, but also carried some god essence. The Dao molding divine emperor was furious, but before he could continue, a plain voice sounded, who said, "I didn't want Dao fruit." Sikong Qianbei. The Dao molding divine emperor quickly bowed. A gray-robed, skinny man appeared before the 3, and moments later, 2 more people came. Yi Mo's eyes spasmed. Although he knew Sikong Shan would probably notice if he said Dao fruit loudly, but when Sikong Shan came up to him, he realized how terrifying he was. His spirit sense has been watching the surrounding, but despite this, he didn't notice at all when Sikong Shan came before them. He didn't even notice the 2 people behind Sikong Shan. One could see how pitiful his power was to a Dao essence divine emperor. That Dao molding divine emperor bowed and didn't even dare to stand up. He couldn't even control the sweat going down his back. This wasn't just fear, but a powerful Dao rune pressure. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. That skinny man ignored the scared Dao molding divine emperor and just stared at Yi Mo seriously and asked, "I'm Sikong Shan. You called me over because you have a Dao fruit." That skinny man ignored the scared Dao molding divine emperor and just stared at Yi Mo seriously and asked, "I'm Sikong Shan. You called me over because you have a Dao fruit." Yi Mo knew his schemes couldn't trick this person, so he said, "Yi Mo, greet Qianbei." Wan Bei said that loudly, because Wan Bei knows that only if I deliver the Dao fruit to Qianbei personally would I get a chance to enter the Dao discussion grounds. Yi Mo didn't say that if he didn't hand it to Sikong Shan personally, the Dao fruit probably would be robbed away, but he was hinting to this. Seeing Yi Mo didn't argue, Sikong Shan nodded, "Take out your Dao fruit." He knew what Yi Mo meant and knew it was the truth, but he was about to go vindicate primordial essence, so he wasn't going to hassle with these families over this. Yi Mo immediately took out the jade box containing golden bell Buddhist fruit to Sikong Shan. Sikong Shan didn't promise anything, but Yi Mo had to take it out. Even if Sikongshan took the Dao fruit and didn't want to do anything, Yemo would have to suck it up. Sikongshan opened the jade box and immediately shut it. There was extreme surprise and joy on his face. He didn't expect he had such huge fortune. Yemo gave him Golden Bell Buddhist fruit. This was one of the top Dao fruits. Only an outsider like Yemo would think that if you didn't cultivate Buddhist God, or you didn't need this Dao fruit. The fruit was extremely useful to anyone. It not only had Buddhist Dao power, but also a sliver of Buddhist source power. Any Dao fruit that had source power was the highest level of Dao fruit. Great, great, Sikongshan said and put away the jade box. He was extremely happy. Even if he got nothing out of this Dao discussion, just this Buddhist Dao fruit would be enough. You cultivate Buddhist Dao and yet can take out this Dao fruit. You're rather genuine. Sikongshan didn't doubt Yemo's appearance. His spirit sense checked Yemo's storage ring. Yemo knew that if he took out Dao fruit, people might check his storage ring, so he changed the restriction to an ordinary one. Otherwise, Sikongshan might not be able to check it. After checking Yemo's storage ring, Sikongshan was even happier. Although there were good things inside, this Buddhist fruit was the most precious. He didn't suspect Yemo would have a second fruit, as each tree only had one fruit. It seems you desperately want to vindicate Dao. I'll take this Dao fruit. Tell me what you want. Sikongshan smiled. Yemo rejoiced and quickly bowed. Wanbei and friend Du Qishi want to listen to Qianbei's Dao discussion and also hope that Qianbei would take Wanbei to God, Necropolis domain border. Sikongshan nodded. These two requests aren't too bad. I agree. Go inside. After the Dao discussion, I will add you to the list and take you to the God Necropolis domain border. Thank you, Qianbei. Yemo rejoiced and thanked. Sikongshan nodded slightly and disappeared. Yemo knew the Dao discussion hadn't started, but he could go in now. He looked at that Dao molding divine emperor and said, "Open the restriction. I'm going in with my friend." The Dao molding divine emperor's face was green, but he had to do this and let them in. Idiot. That Dao molding divine emperor cursed. Only an idiot would take out a Dao fruit just to enter the Dao discussion square. Wait, a crisp voice called out behind Yemo. Yemo's heart sunk. He could tell this voice was Taba Feiyang's martial sister. He looked at the half-divine woman and asked, "Immortal goddess, were you talking to me?" The woman's face changed and reproached. "I'm not from Immortal Goddess, sacred sect. Be careful of your words, monk." Yemo cursed. He just said that out of a respect, but he didn't realize that Immortal Goddess had to be from that specific sect. Du Qishi quickly sound transmission to Yemo. You must not call those not from Immortal Goddess, sacred sect Immortal Goddess. Just call them Goddess. She is Shan Du God Estate young Mistress Shan Yao. She's not easy to mess with. Yemo immediately realized and saluted with his fists. What business does Goddess have with monk? Shan Yao's face eased and stared at Yemo, asking coldly, "I've never seen you in the city before? Did you just come here?" Yemo was shocked. The woman must have realized he was different. Luckily, he didn't keep using Taba Feiyang's disguise or he would have been dead. She probably recognized the fake Taba Feiyang already. "Yes, I'm indeed from somewhere else. Brother Du told me that there was a divine emperor Dao discussion here and told me to come. I hurried and luckily came on time." Yemo said. Shan Yao glanced at Du Qishi. She knew him, but didn't expect this monk was his friend. "There are limited spots to go in. How did you get in?" Shan Yao asked. "He got a Dao fruit and Sikong Qian. They came here. The Dao molding divine emperor guard wanted to suck up to Shan Yao and explained. Dao fruit." Shan Yao looked at Yemo in shock and said, "You're quite lucky." She felt Yemo had this familiar qi, but she couldn't tell what it was. Her cultivation method and talent was unique and could easily discern qi. That's why she stopped Yemo. Luckily, Yemo acted as a monk. She couldn't think of when she had seen a monk, no matter how hard she thought. In an extremely ancient palace, a yellow-bearded man was furious. He just got news that the little dragon he kept in the city was taken away. This person who took him away had a Dao fruit and gave it to Sikongshan. He even got the promise to be taken to God Necropolis domain border. Lord, we definitely have nothing we can do now that the person is entering the Dao discussion square. But since he's going to the God Necropolis domain border, our Zhu Dragon God Tower has someone going there too. The city lord Zhongsuan, Xinhuai's son, and Qi Shao God Corner's Master Hong, Haoyan, would all be going. If we contact them and give them some benefit, that Yemo would never be able to escape. A woman beside the man said calmly. The yellow-bearded man nodded. Okay, we'll do this. There's one day before the Dao discussion starts. Go contact these people first. Shan Yingyao stayed here to wait for the person acting as Taba Feiyong, but she knew there was a very small chance that Guy came. After entering the Dao discussion area, Yemo realized this place was no different to any wilderness. There were already tens of people sitting on cushions. Yemo and Du Qishi found a distant place to stay, and then Yemo asked Brother Du, "Is that Shan Yingyao not simple?" Du Qishi nodded. That's right. She comes from Shan Du God Estate. There's a Dao actualization, powerful being there. She's really loved in the estate, and no one dares to mess with him. If I'm not wrong, she will definitely get a chance to go to God Necropolis domain border. So you need to be careful not to offend her. Chapter 2031 Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect. Chapter 2031 Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect. Even if Du Qishi didn't tell him, Yemo wouldn't go offend Shan Yingyao. Plus, he pitied her. Brother Du, what is the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect she spoke of? She seemed very scared of that sect. Yemo asked. Du Qishi said seriously, even Dao Essence Divine Emperor don't dare to challenge Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect in the God Necropolis domain. In the God Necropolis domain, only Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect people can be called Immortal Goddess. They're this dominant? Yemo asked in surprise. No, they're not dominant. The reason the women from Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect are called this way is not due to their own accord, but people respect the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect. You must not go into the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect range. Otherwise, that is suicide. Du Qishi said. Why? Yemo didn't understand God Necropolis domain at all and could only ask. Du Qishi explained. God Necropolis domain is the original divine Dao realm. Due to battles between ancient powerful beings, the realm itself crumbled. Eventually, the divine Dao realm was about to be pulverized, and those powerful beings fled the broken divine Dao realm. However, the saint of Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect Qing didn't flee. She used the utmost high God art and turned herself into the law of the divine Dao realm. That stopped the crumbling of divine Dao realm, and now it became the God Necropolis domain. In order to pay tribute to her sacrifice, the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect members are respected as Immortal Goddess. They rarely come out, though. With the divine Dao realm so broken, sects stronger than the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect have disappeared, but they remain intact. Seeing Yemo's shock, Du Qishi smiled. Those sect members of Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect are all extremely beautiful. The more you cultivate their cultivation method, the prettier you become. So everyone wants an Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect member as Dao partner. True. Yemo nodded. Everyone loved beauty, even immortals. Du Qishi smiled. Brother Yi, I need to remind you that the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect members never duel, cultivate with people, and rarely even speak to outsiders. The hardest thing in the God Necropolis domain isn't finding a Dao fruit, but getting an Immortal Goddess as Dao partner. But if you think that way, you're not far from death. You understand? I understand. Yi Emo wasn't dumb. He had to be respectful to a mortal goddess. Whether it was the immortal realm or the cultivation realm, he had seen too many beautiful women. He had even lived with someone like Zhan Bingyu. His wives were all extremely beautiful. He wouldn't be surprised no matter how pretty the woman was. No matter how pretty the immortal goddess was, she would at most be Qing Ru's level. Brother Diyu, I have one more thing to ask you. Do you know a sect called Suyu Divine Tao? Yi Emo asked. Suyu Divine Tao? Du Qishi repeated in confusion and then shook his head. I've never heard of such sect, but the god Necropolis domain is boundless and despite being broken, it's not something a Tao molding divine emperor like me can travel across. Yi Emo didn't ask anymore. The sect wasn't far from this city. Since Du Qishi didn't know, this meant that the sect was extremely ancient. Yi Emo started asking about all sorts of stories of the god Necropolis domain. He also learned the terror of god Necropolis domain border. Even Tao molding divine emperor might be crushed by the Tao runes there. There was a Tao wave line at the border. Those weaker people would be diced. Since ancient times, countless immortal emperors and half-divines died at the god Necropolis domain border. Countless divine emperors never came back after entering the Tao wave line. About tens of thousands of km from Yi Mo's place, two women were desperately looking around. One wore blue robes while the other wore yellow robes. They were both extremely beautiful. Sister Bue, how come we're not at the same place with Master after using that transmission rune? Is this the god Necropolis domain? Why does everything seem so barren? The yellow-robed woman asked. Shaman, it's probably due to the space being unstable here that some problem occurred. We held on to each other, so we're not separated, but Master is probably very far away from us. Sister Bue said. Zhan Zhong Divine Emperor didn't know the space here was this unstable. When he brought his two disciples here, he immediately saw someone stronger than him come. In his desperation, he immediately used his only space transmission rune. It was a battle lute of his. After using it, Zhan Zhong Divine Emperor immediately realized he did something stupid. The space here was extremely unstable. It was suicide to use such rune here. When he grabbed at his two disciples, they were already very far from him. The two girls were lucky that they didn't fall into Void Crevice and instead survived here. Without their master to take care of them, both of them were worried. They didn't even dare to talk and just hurried, wanting to leave this barren place. A day later, two dashing lights landed before Luo Bue and Mu Xiaoyan. They finally saw people. Luo Bue and Mu Xiaoyan rejoiced, but were also nervous. They heard Master say that the people at God Necropolis domain were very scary, but soon they were shocked. It was two women before them. They were too pretty. Where did you two come from? How did you come here? The taller woman glanced at the two and frowned. My martial sister and I followed our master here, but we got separated and lost. Luo Bue quickly said. The taller woman stared at Mu Xiaoyan for a while, and suddenly frowned and released a blue long sword. The shorter woman quickly stopped her and said, Martial sister and Hai, don't attack first. Since they appeared next to our sect, it means they have fate with us. Why don't we them back first? Luo Bue and Mu Xiaoyan were dazed. They didn't even do anything, and that taller woman wanted to kill them. Was the god Necropolis domain this unreasonable? And Hai sneered, this woman has lost her virginity and dares to come to our sect? It's an insult to us. What's the point in no killing such shameless person? Luo Bue was dazed. What reason to kill was this? Mu Xiaoyan's character was soft and yet strong. Hearing this, she was furious. Yi Mo was her husband. So what if she gave her virginity to her husband? There was such crazy women in this world. Luo Bue had been with Mu Xiaoyan for a long time and knew her well. She quickly pulled her, signaling her not to talk. The woman was still going to attack. Luo Biu was ready to fight. She knew the two of them combined was no match for this woman, but she wasn't going to sit and wait. Wait, another dashing light came. Martial Uncle Qilan. The two women quickly bowed. Luo Biue and Mu Xiaoyan stared at this woman with even more shock. What sect was this? One was prettier than the other. You two probably came from the immortal realm? The woman's tone was much softer. Luo Biue and Mu Xiaoyan were dazed. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2032. Tao Discussion Begins. Chapter 2032. Tao Discussion Begins. You don't need to say anything. I already know. How about this? Come with me to the Divine Sect first. Otherwise, even if you leave here, you wouldn't be able to get to the nearest God corner of Divine Tao City. The woman's tone was very nice. Wan Bei is willing to follow Qian Bei to the sect. Luo Biue saw that Mu Xiaoyan wanted to talk and quickly said before her. She was afraid Mu Xiaoyan would reject. When they came to the outside of the sect, Mu Xiaoyan and Luo Biue were completely dazed. All they had seen on the way was the devastated landed, but now what was before them was lush green immortal mountain and God water. It was like heaven and hell. They weren't just dazed at the scene. The small heaven domain they lived at was extremely beautiful too. They were dazed at the extremely dense God spirit chi. They almost didn't need to cultivate and could feel their progress. This is such a good place. Luo Biue sighed. Immortal Goddess, Sacred Sect. Mu Xiaoyan saw the 4 words before the sect and felt worried. She felt this wasn't a place she should come, but she couldn't resist at all. Martial Sister Qilan, why did you bring a woman whose chi is impure? They just walked into a palace and heard a displeased voice. The woman who brought them in quickly asked Martial Sister Yanhui. These two are called Mu Xiaoyan and Luo Biue. They came from the immortal realm. Although Xiaoyan is only abstruse immortal cultivation leave, she has extremely pure immortal with spirit root. Martial Sister Qilan, you want to take someone who has lost her virginity into the sect? Yunhui said coldly. Mu Xiaoyan was extremely uncomfortable. She never said she wanted to join here, and these people brought her here and reproached her. She gave virginity to her husband. What did it have to do with this immortal goddess, sacred sect? Yunhui, everything has fate. Since Qilan wants to take her as disciple, it's fate and fortune. Plus, there are such precedents in our sect. Qilan, take your 2 new disciples and leave. No need to see me. Remember, don't do this again. Another voice sounded. There was surprise and joy in Qilan's eyes, and she bowed. Thank you, sect leader. Qilan understands. 15 minutes later, Qilan took the 2 and came to a distant mountain peak. She took them to a hall and said, I believe you don't really understand the immortal goddess, sacred sect, but that's fine. Just remember that our sect is the #1 sect in the divine Tao realm. I'm called Lan Qilan. I will be your master. Qian Bei, Martial Sister Biue, and I already have master. Mu Xiaoyan felt this Qilan Qian Bei were much better than the other women. Lan Qilan smiled. I know that, but it's fine. After you understand this place, you will know what I mean. Mu Xiaoyan didn't speak this time. She could tell Lan Qilan had good intentions towards them. If it wasn't for her, they would have probably been killed already. Master, Biue and Xiaoyan are willing to join Master's sect. Luo Biue said. It was common occurrence to have a few masters in the immortal realm. She was confused why this place became divine Tao realm, but not God Necropolis domain, but she didn't dare to ask. Hearing this, Mu Xiaoyan kneeled down too. Mu Xiaoyan, greet Master. Thank you for saving my life, Master. Lan Qilan nodded and sighed. You can cultivate at my Lan E Peak. Try not to leave here. Yes, master. The two responded. They had nowhere to go anyways. Seeing this, Lon Chilon smiled. Do you know why I took you guys in as disciples? Luo Biwa looked at Lon Chilon. Didn't she say that Shaoyan was extremely pure immortal with spirit root? Lon Chilon said, Immortal goddess, sacred sect is a saint heritage. They don't like non-virgins. My martial sister was locked in the prison door mountain and tortured to death due to losing her virginity. My mother brought me here, and before I even saw my master, she was killed by people of the sect. The reason is the same as Shaoyan, because she wasn't a virgin. Lon Chilon's eyes went dim. My master saved me in time and took me back to the sect. But due to me, the immortal goddess, sacred sect, split apart. My master was very powerful, and in order to save me, she calmed this disaster all by herself. However, due to this internal conflict, my master was weakened and soon went into reincarnation. Before she left, she handed me over to my martial uncle ancestor, who is the current sect leader. Mu Shaoyan was ashamed. She realized that her master was saving her. But this immortal goddess, sacred sect heritage was too absurd. How could there be heritage if women didn't get pregnant? Without heritage, what was the immortal goddess, sacred sect? No need to think much. Just stay here and cultivate. With Shaoyan and Biu's talent, you guys will have the chance to vindicate Dao. Lon Chilon comforted. Yes, master. Mu Shaoyan quickly answered. Her master didn't ask them about the immortal realm, clearly not wanting to know about these things. Mu Shaoyan knew she had to bring her power up quickly, or she would never be able to see her husband. Yi Mo and Du Qishi chatted happily and learned a lot of things here. Brother Du, monkey, may I sit here? Shan Inyao interrupted their conversation with her crisp voice. Of course, please have a seat. Du Qishi quickly said. He could tell Shan Inyao was interested in Yi Mo. He didn't understand why such a beautiful woman would be interested in a monk, but he didn't want to offend her. Shan Inyao sat down and smiled. Just call me Inyao. My cultivation level is much weaker than Brother Du. He wasn't worried Shan Inyao could recognize him, as the two spirit sense marks weren't something ordinary people could remove. Now that he had 0 spirit sense marks on him, how could she recognize him? Monkey, may I ask which branch of the Buddhist sect you're from? Shan Inyao spoke politely to Yi Mo. Yi Mo said calmly, Goddess Inyao, no need to call me monk, just call my name. I'm just a cultivator that's finding my own path. I don't dare to say which branch I belong to. At most, a small branch of Buddhism. Just when she wanted to talk, she heard a clear voice. The Divine Emperor Dao. Discussion begins now. I now invite Dao Essence Divine Emperor Sikong Chenbei to discuss Dao for us. The skinny Sikong Shan suddenly appeared in the air. He sat in midair and said calmly, this Dao discussion was originally going to go for half a year, and I would discuss the world Great Dao meaning in the last month. However, due to some special reasons, I have to go in God Necropolis domain quickly, so I will be discussing my Dao vindication experience in the first month. After this month, I will be heading to the God Necropolis domain to seek primordial essence. Yi Mo knew that the fruit he gave Sikong Shan wasn't simple, and it was probably why he changed his mind. Yi Mo didn't mind. The quicker they went to God Necropolis domain, the better it was for them. The place was silent. Everyone held their breath, getting ready to listen to a Dao Essence Divine Emperor's understanding of Dao. Such opportunity was once in a lifetime. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Yi Mo understand Dao. 2033 Yi Mo understand Dao. Dao person, its origin before the world. Dao enlightenment is learning the heavens and the earth. Gather millions and then see the true path. Tai Chu once said, Tao is with spirit. Spirit is Tao. Mortal Tao. The world is united and yet have hundreds of troubles. Same path, but different endings. No art, no Tao. No root, no stem. No leaf, no blossom. Tao is everything becoming alive and then forming. This is called human way earth. Earth way heaven. Heaven way Tao. Tao way nature. Sikong Shan was getting to the exciting part and completely forget he was discussing Tao. The people below were immersed in this. Some of their essence spirit even left their body and used the essence spirit to feel the world Tao. Yi Mo nodded hearing this. Sikong Shan's understanding of Tao was far stronger than him. There were many things he didn't understand, but after Sikong Shan explained it, he immediately connected the dots. Sikong Shan's Tao in some places were in sync with the three-birth chant. This made Yi Mo very happy. He had never had a master, and this was the first time he listened to Tao. This Tao explanation was perfect for him. Sikong Shan meant that Tao formed before the heavens and earth. It's ethereal and indescribable. There are all sorts of different Tao, and you couldn't say any one of them is wrong. This meant that people used different ways to vindicate Tao, but their direction was the same, and the result they pursued was the same. At the same time, Sikong Shan believed Tao was nature. Learn Tao from the heavens and earth, just like everything else in the world. Immortal Tao, essence Qi, the elite of essence Qi. Qi Tao is life. Immortal Tao person, full but doesn't spill. Prosper, but not cocky, diligent, but not boastful. Sikong Shan talked about heaven Tao and then immortal Tao. Then he spoke from immortal Tao about how to reach Tao vindication. People were mesmerized by his discussion. Yi Mo also combined Sikong Shan's Tao with his three-birth chant and was very shocked. A Tao essence divine emperor was this terrifying. There were many things which, if Sikong Shan didn't say, would take him maybe hundreds or maybe millions of years to think of. This Tao fruit wasn't wasted. It was really worth it. Later on, Sikong Shan stopped talking and just emitted his Tao waves. His voice spread in the Tao waves, making everyone feel his Tao waves and his understanding of Tao. 1 month passed quickly. When people were still immersed in this, Sikong Shan suddenly stopped. Everyone woke up abruptly and felt time went by too quickly. Yi Mo breathed. He benefited the most. There were many Tao theories that his three-birth chant could derive, but he didn't understand. Now he understood a lot. He gradually perfected his Tao. Everyone's Tao was learned through all the constituents of the universe, but the three-birth chant was different. He finally understood what Sikong Shan's theory of Tao's origin from nature was. Sikong Shan meant that Tao gave birth to one. One gave birth to two. Two gave birth to three, and three gave birth to everything else. This meant that Tao existed before the world and everything. Everything was derived from Tao, but the three-birth chant didn't describe it that way. Its opening statement was chaos birthed one, one birthed two, two birthed three, and three birthed everything. Yi Mo didn't really understand this before, but he had an approximate understanding now. This sentence could be understood as chaos gave birth to one, and this one might be Tao. Then Tao gave birth to the world. Then everything else was born in the world. In the universe, chaos was first, then Tao, and then the world. This was the theory of the three-birth chant. Since Yi Mo got the three-birth chant and cultivated it, he could only borrow Sikong Shan's Tao, but not listen to it. If he did, he would be vindicating a small Tao. A light flashed across Yi Mo's brain. In order to vindicate Tao through three-birth chant, he needed to understand the law of all things and surpass heaven Tao and vindicate chaos instead of learn the law of all things and then vindicate heaven Tao. Chaos Tao and heaven Tao were two completely different things. Chaos was before, heaven Tao was after. Yi Mo breathed. He knew his Tao was too hard, but he cultivated the three-birth chant and had the chaos world, so he had to vindicate chaos. Otherwise, the divine damnation of the heaven Tao wouldn't let him go. He had seen this countless times. At this moment, Yemo finally realized why his divine damnation was always many times stronger than others. It was because he cultivated the three-birth chant and needed to vindicate Chaos Tao. Heaven Tao wouldn't allow a being who can surpass it to exist. If he deigned practice body refinement, he would have long disappeared in the divine damnation. Sikong Shan glanced at the people still immersed in his Tao and said, "My Tao discussion has ended. The remaining time will be for other divine emperors to explain the Heaven Tao. I need to go to the god Necropolis domain immediately. The 10 fortunate people, please come with me." Sikong Shan waved out a dark gray cloud, and 10 people immediately got up. Yi Mo saw that including him there were 11 people. Clearly, Sikong Shan didn't take one off. Yi Mo knew clearly that at this time, the last person to go up would be left behind mercilessly. The 11th person would be the unfortunate person, Sikong Shan implied. Yi Mo quickly said to Du Qishi, "Brother Du, I'm going first. We'll meet again." Then he dashed up to the dark gray cloud. Shan Yingyao had been staring at Yi Mo, seeing him go up. She followed without hesitation and stood next to him immediately. She didn't understand why Yi Mo dashed up so quickly, but when she saw everyone else come up quickly and Sikong Shan throw down the last person, she finally realized. The immortal emperor who was thrown down glared at Yi Mo. Mo took his spot, and he wanted to kill Yi Mo, but he didn't dare to go up again. Go. Sikong Shan disappeared with the 10 from the cloud. With Sikong Shan gone, many people weren't interested in the Tao discussion, and some left. Du Qishi wanted to listen for longer, but seeing many people leave, he left without hesitation. He had been with Yi Mo, and Yi Mo offended too many people. Sikong Shan was extremely fast. The gray cloud formed a barrier of cloud. There were only the 10 people inside, but Sikong Shan was nowhere to be seen. Yi Mo carefully used his spirit sense to check outside and immediately felt this dizziness. He was very shocked. A Tao Essence Divine Emperor's speed was this terrifying that his spirit sense couldn't even see outside the cloud. There was void fissures how. Just how fast would Sikong Shan be if there were no void fissures? If Sikong Shan didn't take them, how fast would he be? "Brother Yi, you don't seem to be liked here," Shan Yingyao said, seeing people glare at Yi Mo coldly. Yi Mo glanced at these people and said, "I'm a monk. I'm not gay. Why do I need to be liked by them?" For the first time, Shan Yingyao felt Yi Mo was this interesting and laughed. "Brother, there's a few extremely pretty goddesses here." "Not interested," Yi Mo said. After she said these 2 sentences, Yi Mo immediately annoyed the other 8 people. A woman who looked on par with Shan Yingyao just wanted to talk, but the gray cloud suddenly shook. Everyone subconsciously scanned this spirit sense out. Terrifying time whirlpool mixed with space whirlpool. There were also dense fissures and Tao runes that sliced across the heaven every now and then that instantly destroyed their spirit sense. Their faces were all pale. This is near the entrance of the god Necropolis domain. Be careful. Don't scan your spirit sense out. A half-divine said with a pale face, "If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters." "2034 Find Trouble with Yi Mo." 2034 Find Trouble with Yi Mo. Yi Mo said nothing. He found that amongst these 10 people, he lost the least spirit sense. This was probably due to his spirit sense being strong and him refining his spirit sense in the time whirlpool in the Muhua God Mountain. Sikong Shan didn't remind them at all and just scurried with the gray cloud. Sikong Shan's speed wasn't slow, but even with his speed, it had been many days and he still didn't reach the border of the god Necropolis domain. This made Yi Mo doubt if Tao Molding Divine Emperor could leave the god Necropolis domain like this. Those people who wanted to look for Yi Mo's trouble didn't have the interest to keep talking. They were carried by someone flying outside the god Necropolis domain. If Sikongshan was in a bad mood and threw them somewhere, none of them would be able to live. Luckily, they didn't stay very long in the gray cloud. In just half a day later, the 10 felt the ground shook, and then they heard Sikongshan's voice. "This is the god Necropolis domain. Find your own fortunes. Good luck." Sikongshan was long gone. These 10 people had never been to the god Necropolis domain border. After hearing this voice, they used their essence chi to protect their body while searching around. Some people released their magic artifact and was very vigilant. The place they were at was dark gray. There were many time and space whirlpools and even void fissures, but these whirlpools were slow and the laws inside weren't strong. Even ordinary immortal emperor primary stage could deal with them, much less them. Yi Mo extended his spirit sense out and found why it was easier to vindicate Tao here. There were all sorts of broken word laws. The nearby law was very weak too. If you wanted to vindicate Tao, start with the weaker laws and gradually move inside the god Necropolis domain. If you learn a law and fuse it into your Tao, then you're not far from Tao vindication. Whether it was the highest Tao or small Tao, it was a path for people to vindicate Tao. A few immortal emperors who realized this left alone. Yi Mo wanted to leave. He didn't want to stay with these people, but as soon as he was preparing to leave, he was stopped. "Monk, I heard you're very cocky. You know that little dragon is kept by someone, and yet you still dare to take it." An immortal emperor peak stage with a powerful force said. Those few people who wanted to leave saw this, and all stopped to enjoy the show. They knew each other here, and now there was a conflict. Of course they wanted to see their means. "It has nothing to do with you." Yi Mo stopped and said. The immortal emperor released his magic artifact 5-element abstruse yellow ring and said in contempt, "The emperor is Zhu Dragon God Tower, Taiwan immortal emperor Lian Chi Sui. That dragon is kept by my sect. Do you think it's my business or not?" "Hand over the cultivation home you keep the little dragon in, and let me check your storage ring. Perhaps the emperor will let you leave." Lian Chi Sui spoke with intense killing intent. Even the people on the side could tell that he would kill Yi Mo, regardless if he listened or not. "Brother Lian, just do as you please." "Aye, Zhongsu and Gongjie will back you up." Another half-divine stopped behind Yi Mo. "My Chi Shao God corners 2 spots in here, had one squeezed off by you bastard. I'll see what powers you have to be this cocky." Another bearded, half-divine stood out. Moments later, the 3 had circled Yi Mo. Everyone knew that this bearded guy was called Hong Haoyan. He was definitely a powerful person. It was pretty much extremely hard to survive a battle with him if your cultivation level was the same as his. Yi Mo knew no one here, and no one stood up for him. Seeing Lian Chi Sui about to attack, Shan Yingyao quickly said, "Wait. Goddess Yingyao, even though you're the young mistress of the Shan Du God estate, but this Yi guy is my Zhu Dragon God Tower's big enemy. Are you going to help him?" Lian Chi Sui said with annoyance. Shan Yingyao smiled. "Of course I won't, but I have a few questions to ask Yi Mo. I was planning to ask later, but since you guys want to attack now, I'll just ask him one question. Please give me some face." Lian Chi Sui's face was bleak. Zhongsu and Gongjie had been pursuing Shan Yingyao for a long time. Hearing this, he immediately waved his hand. "Goddess Yingyao, just ask. It's only a few moments of time. No matter how strong he is, he wouldn't be able to escape after being trapped by us." "Thank you, everyone." Shan Yingyao saluted with her fists and stared at Yi Mo. "Brother, I'm going to ask about someone. He's called Taba Feiyang. Have you heard of him?" She stared at Yi Mo. If Yi Mo showed even the slightest reaction, she believed she could sense it. Yi Mo said without hesitation, "I've never seen Taba Feiyang." Hearing this, Shan Yingyao breathed. She knew she thought of the wrong person. "Hurry up and leave for my side. Hong Haoyan's power is terrifying. He's not someone you can beat." Shan Ingyao sound transmission to Yemo was confused. He didn't expect her to help him. For their relationship, this was very nice. But Yemo didn't plan to go. Two half-divines and an immortal emperor, peak stage, wanted to suppress him. They were dreaming. Seeing Yemo have no intentions to go, Shan Ingyao sighed and retreated to the side. She knew what Lien Chisue was after, and that's why I tried to help the innocent Yemo. Since Yemo didn't want to go, then never mind. Their domains stacked together, and it seemed Yemo was bound in the domain. Yemo didn't attack first. They didn't pose a threat to him. He was interested in Lien Chisue's ring. 5-element magic artifact were very hard to make, but once made they were very powerful. When the ring rose and 5-colored light rose, Yemo was certain it was a 5-element magic artifact. Just when Yemo was about to release Zisu, another dashing light came. This dashing light's force was very powerful, far stronger than a half-divine. Clearly, it was a Tao molding divine emperor. Even Lien Chisue didn't dare to keep attacking. Everyone, even Yemo, felt a bit hard to breathe as the person was too beautiful. Even though she just wore an ordinary yellow dress, her beauty made the dress pretty. It was usually clothes making people look better, but she made the clothes look better. Even Shan Ingyao felt embarrassed of herself. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. "2035, so powerful. 2035, so powerful, greet immortal goddess." Everyone bowed, including Lien Chisue. Yemo just realized now that this extremely beautiful yellow-robed woman was from the immortal goddess sacred sect. For the first time, Yemo saw a woman who could match Qingru. The woman stood before them and didn't go, but Yemo dazed. He didn't daze due to this woman, but because he thought of Susu. The first time he saw Susu, she also wore a yellow robe in the desert. The woman glanced at everyone, and seeing Yemo didn't move, she said nothing and asked, "Did Sikong Shan bring you over?" "Yes, immortal goddess." Other than Yemo, everyone else nodded. The woman nodded and was about to leave, but Yemo heard Shan Ingyao sound transmission to him. "Brother Yi, she's the immortal goddess of the immortal goddess sacred sect. Ask for help." The yellow-robed woman glanced at Shan Ingyao, clearly hearing her sound transmission. However, she turned and disappeared in a yellow line before Yemo asked for help. Yemo smiled. He never planned to ask for help. Luo Ying's figure flashed before him again. It was such a similar encounter with Luo Ying, but this woman left without wanting to help him at all, but Luo Ying was willing to give him everything. Lien Chisue didn't care about what Yemo was thinking and released the 5-element ring again. Yemo looked into the distance and made up his mind to quickly vindicate Tao and leave here and get back to the immortal realm. His golden page world was complete. He could bring people inside. When he went back to the immortal realm, he would try to get back to the cultivation realm. Seeing the activated 5-color light, Yemo extended his domain. Lethal force stacked in the domain. Hong Haoyan and Zhongsu and Gongjia just extended their domain and hadn't stacked it with Lien Chisue's domain yet, and Yemo's domain pressed over while he released Zisu. The purple ray didn't fall, but instead swept the 5-element ring. At the same time, Yemo released 5 lightning spear destruction. He felt Lien Chisue's weak domain could do nothing against his domain. The difference in power was huge. If it wasn't to protect the ring, Yemo wouldn't even release 5 lightning spear destruction and just kill this Lien Chisue in one strike. When Yemo's domain pressed over, Lien Chisue felt his domain crack like an egg. Seeing this, Lien Chisue immediately knew that he was too cocky. He was a far cry from Yemo. Not just him, but the three of them added together was still far weaker than Yemo. Once this thought rose, Lien Chisue no longer had the fighting will. He wanted to flee, but the 5 lightning spear destruction had completely locked onto him. Lien Chisue forcefully released a defense magic artifact. His 5-element ring was stopped by the purple ray and couldn't break free. Crack! Lien Chisue's defense magic artifact cracked like paper and was pulverized by the 5 lightning spear destruction. Those lightning spears didn't change at all and kept smashing down. 5 bloodlights shot. Lien Chisue was killed before he could even resist. This entire process only took a few seconds. Clank! The 5-element ring fell to the ground. Yemo waved the ring into his hand. After looking at it for a while, he put it into his storage ring and then collected Lien Chisue's storage ring. Not just Hong Haoyan and Zhongsu and Gongjie, but everyone else looked dazedly at Yemo. Yemo was clearly an immortal emperor peak stage. How was his power similar to a Dao molding divine emperor / the reason Dao vindication divine emperor were so terrifying was because they understood the world law and could put laws in their god art. They were far stronger than immortal emperors. No matter how strong the immortal emperor, he would be killed by Dao molding divine emperor. Yemo killed an immortal emperor peak stage in an instant, just like a Dao molding divine emperor would. So powerful. Shan Yingyao took in a cold breath. No wonder she called him to run a few times, but he didn't. He didn't need to run at all. Hong Haoyan and Zhongsu and Gongjie needed to run now. Everyone else looked at Yemo with concern. Yemo was far stronger than they had expected it. Yemo's domain swept out and bound Hong Haoyan and Zhongsu and Gongjie. Their faces were bad. Hong Haoyan was prideful, but after seeing Yemo attack, he knew he was no match for Yemo. Their domains combined couldn't stop Yemo. Brother Yi, I'm no match for you. I'm just a helper asked by Zhu Dragon God Tower. It's my bad that I offended Brother Yi. Please name a price. Hong Haoyan said. Just when Yemo wanted to talk, his face changed, and he quickly took back Zi Su. Prepare 1,000,000 god crystals each, and I will come collect it. Then Yemo dashed away. Why doesn't he want it now? Another immortal emperor looked at Yemo's direction and asked in confusion. Moments later, another figure landed here, only 3 seconds later. Everyone looked at this figure and immediately knew why Yemo didn't want it now. They were shocked at the same time as they didn't sense a Dao molding divine emperor coming, but Yemo felt it. This person was tall and had this lethal force, but his hair was messy and his chi was unstable. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. "2036 Scurrying Away. 2036 Scurrying Away. Truth Mang Divine Emperor Master." Seeing this person, everyone bowed. This person was extremely famous. He was Qi Shao God Corner Dao Nourishment Divine Emperor Bianshinda, Divine Emperor title Zhenmang. Hong Haoyan breathed easy. Zhenmang Divine Emperor was his Qi Shao God Corner Qianbei. He feared Yemo even more. This many people didn't sense the Truth Mang Divine Emperor coming back. Yemo did. Bianshinda looked at Yemo's direction and said, "Who left immediately after seeing me come?" And Solo Cultivator called Yemo. He just called Zhu Dragon God Tower Lien Chisue. Hong Haoyan spoke about what happened before. Bianshinda frowned. He said to the people nearby, "Go find your own Dao. I'm going to talk with Hong Haoyan." After they left, Bianshinda looked at Hong Haoyan and asked, "Did you say he killed Lien Chisue with just one move? What magic artifact did he use? Tell me about the specific process, and why were you 3 gaining up on him?" Hong Haoyan spoke of Yemo's magic artifact, Zi Su, and 5 lightning spear destruction. When he heard Yemo was lightning element, Bien Shinda was even more shocked. Hearing that Yemo took away Zhu Dragon God Tower's small dragon, Bien Shinda frowned and said, God Necropolis Domain is a part of Chaos World. Now that the laws are incomplete, how can you use Small World or Cultivation Home to bring people to the God Necropolis Domain border? Hong Haoyan quickly said, Chiu Rang is dragon, not human. Bien Shinda sneered. Sikong Shan doesn't like people to hide things. If that Yemo really used Small World to bring Dragon Race without telling him, he would have kicked Yemo off immediately. Do you think a Small World or Cultivation Home can trick a Tao Essence Divine Emperor like Sikong Shan? It can't even get past me. Martial Ancestor means Yemo didn't bring the little dragon here. Hong Haoyan suddenly thought of something and said, I know, he probably gave that little dragon to Du Qishi. This time, Zhu Dragon Tower lost big. They didn't get anything and lost a Lien Chi Sue. Bien Shinda frowned, and after long while he said, What if Yemo really brought that little dragon in? What? Hong Haoyan didn't understand yet. Bien Shinda just said quickly to Hong Haoyan, When you encounter that Yemo, you must avoid him. You're no match for him. Then he dashed in the direction Yemo left. Bien Shinda saw things clearer than Hong Haoyan. If Yemo didn't bring the small dragon, and then Hong Haoyan was right. Yemo might have given Chiu Rang to Du Qishi. But what if Yemo really had Chiu Rang with him and Sikong Shan didn't notice this? Then there was only one reason. Yemo had a 5-element world or something beyond it. Only 5-element world or something beyond that could be hidden in the essence, spirit, or sea of consciousness. As long as Sikong Shan didn't intentionally look for it, he wouldn't be able to find it. While Bien Shinda was chasing after Yemo, Du Qishi was running like crazy. After he left the Tao discussion place, he immediately realized. Yemo took Chiu Rang to Sikong Shan's cloud, but Sikong Shan didn't throw Yemo down. This meant that Sikong Shan didn't notice it. What cultivation home could allow Sikong Shan to not discover it? Only 5-element world or something beyond that. He was certain Yemo had such thing as only he knew that Yemo didn't give the little dragon to him. This was why he had to run. Clearly, other people could think of this too, and while they would definitely send people after Yemo at the God Necropolis Domain, they would send people after him. Luckily, he had ran early for many days, but didn't find any signs of people chasing him. Du Qishi panted. He had decided to not come back to Chong Fei Divine Tao City unless he reached Tao Essence. Whether Yemo was dead or alive, it was something beyond his control. Bien Shinda was shaking with excitement. With the news he got from Hong Haoyan, he was almost certain that Yemo had something beyond 5-element world. Otherwise, Yemo wouldn't be able to instant kill appear. He had been stuck at Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor for countless years, but couldn't press one bit. In order to reach Tao Actualization Divine Emperor, he had spent 100,000 years at the God Necropolis Domain border, but still got nothing. He didn't dare to go inside the God Necropolis Domain. If he crossed that ling, he would have been long dead. Now that he had the chance to get the 5-element world, how could he let it go? He was thinking about getting Yemo's 5-element world before other people got him. Yemo didn't know this, and just kept using mobility technique at the border. If Yemo knew that Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor was looking for him, he would have long gone into the depth and not dared to use mobility technique at the outskirts. The border of the God Necropolis Domain was huge, and spirit sense was limited heavily. That Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor wasn't able to find Yemo in a short time. 5 days later, Yemo stopped. He stopped in a chaotic space and felt a shaking from his essence spirit. There seemed to be a huge, invisible wall that separated the inside from where he was. Yemo's spirit sense carefully reached into the space and immediately felt all sorts of laws entwined together in like a net and grinded his spirit sense to pieces. This was probably the inside of the God Necropolis Domain. No wonder Tao Vindication Divine Emperors could only stay at the border, other than powerful beings like Sikongshan, who would be able to go in. Yi Mo didn't dare to go in. No one who went in has ever come out. Even if someone has, he didn't dare to go in. Yi Mo's spirit sense scanned around and decided to set up a formation and then find a time whirlpool to learn time law. A subtle wave appeared in Yi Mo's spirit sense. When Yi Mo felt the danger, he went into the Golden Page world without hesitation and controlled the Golden Page world to fly into the huge wall he didn't want to go into. He had seen the power of divine emperors. He couldn't even beat a Tao molding divine emperor. He felt the danger from that wave. If an immortal emperor came over, he definitely wouldn't feel danger. So this meant that it was a Tao Vindication Divine Emperor coming. Thinking about the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor he saw before, Yi Mo went into the terrifying law whirlpool wall without hesitation. As soon as Yi Mo disappeared into the wall, a figure landed where Yi Mo was. It was Bien Shinda. Bien Shinda's spirit sense scanned around, but he frowned more and more. Is it not that guy? He muttered to himself. He didn't see Yi Mo go in the wall, and he didn't believe Yi Mo dared to go into the wall. Bien Shinda investigated for a long while, and was finally certain that Yi Mo went in the huge wall with some magic artifact. It was probably the 5-element world. Despite knowing the dangers in here and how it's fabled that everyone who went in never came out, Bien Shinda still clenched his teeth upon thought of Yi Mo's 5-element world and released a yellow fan. Then he released countless fan shadows that circulated him before he charged in the wall. Yi Mo didn't know that Bien Shinda had followed him in here. He could only float around in this place. He could control the Golden Page world, but couldn't allow it to choose a direction and run as his spirit sense couldn't go out. Yi Mo couldn't extend his spirit sense out, so he meditated in the Golden Page world. Yi Mo's face didn't seem so good, so usually shadowless and small ginseng wouldn't interrupt Yi Mo at this time. Chiu Rang, who already liked this place, listened to Big Brother Shadowless and didn't dare to go to Yi Mo. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.